7-13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Vikings tight end T.J. Hawkinson resets the market for his position. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports he'll get a 4-year extension worth $68.5 million. Pro Football Hall of Famer and longtime Cowboys executive Gil Brandt has died. Brandt was the vice president of player personnel for 28 years in Dallas, including 20 straight winning seasons and 2 Super Bowl titles. He was 91. After missing the college football playoff last year, ESPN's Kirk Herbstreit says, watch out for Alabama.
Whatever happens that year, go back and look at the history the following year. What happens when there's a motivated Alabama team? Be very leery of Alabama and the chip on the shoulder that they're going to play with this year.
Kirk Herbstreit, the Crimson Tide open against Middle Tennessee Saturday night. 5 players waived by the Angels this week are now on other rosters. Pitchers Lucas Giolito, Matt Moore, and Reynaldo Lopez with the Guardians. Outfielder Hunter Renfroe and pitcher Dominic Leone with the Mariners.
Summer Bonanza means more business in the fall months. Hire right with Indeed. Their integrated solution lets you schedule and conduct video interviews all in one place. Finding your next great hire has never been this easy. Get hiring at Indeed.com/credit.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, man!
Hey, shut up, kid! Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Another injury to a Saints running back. We're getting to that here shortly. Mike Triplett in hour number 3. We're headed to Tallahassee next hour. But let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Spent a lot of time this week talking about concerns with LSU's secondary. Certainly the LSU offense and just how proficient I think they're going to be this year. And I think LSU's offense is going to be very good this year. One of the matchups that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about yet that I think we need to, outside of the Mason Smith absence, is the LSU defensive front against the Florida State offensive line. One thing to be very aware of with Florida State's offensive line, and look, every game week, every program has their game notes. It's a packet. Yes, they still print game notes. It's a packet that Sports Information puts out. It's everything you need to know about a team in a given week. I got Florida State's right here, and I got LSU's right here. Some game notes. Game notes. So it's just a ton of info, everything you need to know from, numbers to know. Florida State's winning percentage since 1976, the 4th highest in the nation, 73.9%. Says it right there. Take them at their word. You get my point. Well, in their game notes, one of the first things they point out, by the way, did you know this? Muse, did you know this? Florida State, their all-time record games in Orlando. You aware of it?
I actually am aware of it.
Because you looked at the game notes?
No, because somebody asked Mike Norvell about it in one of his press conferences this week.
They're 10-0-2.
Yep, undefeated.
They've never lost a game in Orlando. Florida State won 9 straight since that 17-17 tie with Georgia in the 1984 Citrus Bowl.
Great game.
Says it right there. You weren't even born.
It's a great game. Fantastic.
You watch it on YouTube?
Hard fought by both squads.
Ties are stupid. Anyway, in the notes, Florida State Sports Information points out the Seminoles' offensive line is by far the most experienced group in the country as they enter the season with the nation's best 307 games played and 214 combined starts, ranking 41 games played and 35 starts ahead of the next closest team nationally. 9 different offensive linemen have started at least one collegiate game, and 7 different offensive linemen on the 2023 squad have made at least 20 collegiate starts. Who? Earlier this week, Alex Atkins, the Florida State offensive line coach, who, by the way, is a great offensive line coach. LSU tried to hire him 2 years ago, if you recall, and Florida State ponied up the money to keep him. This was Alex Atkins at the beginning of this week talking about his offensive line.
You know, we got some experienced guys that put in a lot of time and reps, but also their understanding of the little nuances that you can't show in practice, something that might come up in a scheme. They've showed the ability to kind of process that information, execute it. I think those guys, you know, they've been through it. They've become a lot closer. And, you know, so I believe in their ability to not only respond if something happens, but also to adapt and improvise if there's something out there that we haven't showed them or been able to rep quite a few times.
They are veteran. Robert Scott, their left tackle, has made 29 career starts. Casey Roddick, their left guard, has made 30 career starts. Their center, Maurice Smith, has started 29 games. Right guard, Dimitri Emanuel, has started 38 games. These are starts, by the way. And right tackle, Jeremiah Byers, 30 career starts. They have played a ton of football. Now, it is also worth noting that Casey Roddick, their left guard, is a Colorado transfer. And Jeremiah Byers, the right tackle, is a UTEP transfer. So a couple of guys there that have played a lot of football, but not exactly played the level of football that you'd be accustomed to, and certainly not what you're going to see on Sunday night at Camping World Stadium against the LSU defensive front. But they've played a lot of games, okay? And it's interesting because in this game a year ago, and I know we keep going back to it, but in so many instances going back to a year ago is an illustration of just how different things are. Florida State ran the ball 38 times a year ago for 132 yards. They averaged 3.5 yards per carry. LSU completely bottled up Trey Benson. So LSU's defensive front did a really, really good job in run defense. What LSU's defensive front did a pretty terrible job of doing is pressures. No sacks and just 2 tackles for loss. As a result, Jordan Travis and Florida State were 11 of 17 on third down. They were 9 of 10 in the first half. LSU couldn't get off the field because Florida State just kept converting third downs because LSU couldn't pressure Jordan Travis or get him on the ground. That's got to change this year. Now, the interesting question is LSU able to do that without Mason Smith? Look, Mekhi Wingo met with reporters earlier this week and talked about facing Florida State without number 0 right in the middle.
I'll tell you, it's easier to know that he's not playing now than he goes down in the first quarter. So, but, you know, we have guys like Jalen Lee, Jacobian Guillory, Jordan Jefferson that's really stepped up to the plate. And I think those guys will be able to fill the void. And, you know, as a team, we're just going to rally around each other and, you know, try to put our best product on film.
I love the point he made that it's easier knowing now he's not going to be there. Because you can game plan. I mean, LSU will have had 2 weeks of game planning without Mason Smith, knowing he's not going to play. It is dramatically different than, oh, crap, this guy you built a game plan around is now gone, and the math changes completely. So that's a very good point by Mekhi Wingo. But he also pointed out, and he started naming some of those transfers, and you know that's something Matt House talked about as well when we got to talk to him in fall camp, were these transfers. And I'm going to illustrate this point in a minute, but here was Matt House.
Been pleased at the buy-in there. 2, I've been pleased with the competition and depth it's brought. Excited about, you know, Jordan. We didn't get a chance to see him in the spring. He's done a nice job. Paris has done a nice job. Jalen Lee has gotten a lot better over the course of the summer. So I would tell you that they bring competition and depth.
So remember, we talked about Florida State's experience. 307 games played, 214 career starts, 9 different offensive linemen have started a game for Florida State. Phil Steele, by the way, in his positional rankings, has Florida State's offensive line the third best offensive line in all of college football this year. So this is a massive test. But while Florida State's offensive line has a ton of experience, they don't exactly have top-tier talent. Of the guys we just mentioned, two of the starters who played a lot are transfers, and none of them are projected top 2-day draft picks in the NFL. Like, all of them could be day 3 or priority free agent. To say it another way, there's no Will Campbell. There's no Emory Jones. There's no Joe Alt, who Brian Kelly recruited to Notre Dame, who's going to be a top 10 draft pick this year. They don't have that super stud on that offensive line. They got a lot of guys who played a lot of football. And so then you look at LSU's defensive line and how it plays out. Mekhi Wingo's played in 25 games. Guillory's played in 26 games. Jordan Jefferson's played in 42 career games. Jalen Lee's played in 25. When you look at the edges, Ovie Ogofu's played in 45 games. Savion Jones played in 25 games. If you go beyond that, Paris Shand and Braden Swinson, who will probably be rotating in, Shand has played in 24 games. Swinson's played in 30 games. So you've got just with your starters, if you're just looking at Wingo, Guillory, Ogofu, and Jones, you got 121 games played and 41 career starts among them. My point is, Florida State's offensive line is very veteran. Played a ton of games together. No, like undeniable, well, not together because two of the guys are transfers, but they played a ton of football. But you don't have the superstar talent. On the flip side, LSU's defensive line is basically the same. A bunch of veteran dudes who have played a ton of football. So where's the X factor? Well, it's Mekhi Wingo and Harold Perkins. Wingo was an All-American last year, and Harold Perkins was a freshman All-American and a guy that is everybody's pick to be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He's got to go be a game changer. The thing you did not have in this game a year ago, as I said, no sacks and 2 tackles for loss against Florida State last year. A game where Harold Perkins barely saw the field. Look, and you had B.J. Ojulari. You had Ali Gay. You had guys that could rush the passer and didn't in this game a year ago. Mekhi Wingo, Harold Perkins. Can you put pressure on Jordan Travis? LSU is going to be fine in run defense. I don't doubt that at all. You got enough bodies, enough rotation, enough girth, enough want to be good against the run. But that ain't the question, because the guy that beat you last year was Jordan Travis, because you couldn't get him on the ground and make him uncomfortable. Can you do it on Sunday? If you can't, LSU's going to win this game, regardless of what's happening in the secondary. Your veteran defensive line against their veteran offensive line, even without Mason Smith, is a huge, huge storyline to watch as this game will develop. All right, it's After Further Review. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. Bud Light, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Bud Light, the official beer of the Southern Jaguars. Of course, you can be watching football tonight as the college football season gets cranked up in earnest. Watch the Gators and the Utes. The 2 Utes, you can be watching that. Minnesota, Nebraska. You got some football. Missouri plays tonight against North Dakota. Not North Dakota State, just North Dakota. You're going to watch it? Make sure you crack open an ice-cold Bud Light and drink easy all season long with our friends courtesy of Mockler Beverage and Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, let me knock out a quick break, y'all. When we come back, Saints are off the practice field, and after practice today, Dennis Allen shared some unfortunate news. There was another injury at the running back position, and the Saints have had to shuffle the deck a bit. We'll fill in all the blanks and talk about what that means next on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com, electric vehicle chargers for your home or commercial building. If you own, work at, manage an apartment complex, a grocery store, a mixed-use development, any type of commercial building, you have got to inquire about an electric vehicle charger. You cannot ride around the streets of Baton Rouge or anywhere anymore without seeing EVs on the road. Well, those people have to charge them. If you're an apartment complex, this could be an amenity for your tenants. If you're a business owner, maybe this is an amenity for your employees. Maybe it's an opportunity to bring potential customers to your place of business, or it's passive revenue. People come, they plug in, they tap to pay, and you get paid, and ProCharge manages the whole thing for you. ProChargeEV.com. ProChargeEV.com.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Football season is finally here. Make your
is.
picks for week 1 in the 2023 1045 ESPN Twin Peaks College Football. Pick them at 1045ESPN.com. Actually, those picks were due by noon today. So if you missed it, get prepared for next week. Weekly winners will receive a Twin Peaks gift card, and the first place long season champion, 75-inch 4K TV and a soundbar. It's the 2023 1045 ESPN Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views.
So two things. One, does this mean I can't win the season-long contest now because I didn't get my picks in before noon?
I don't think that's what it means. It just means you start behind the 8 ball and you have some catching up to do.
You can't pull an offer and try to win the season-long contest.
Well, I mean, you could look at it this way.
Bagel.
Well, you could look at it this way. If you recorded an offer, maybe someone down the road does too, and it balances out. And people get busy, Matt. You forget to get picks in sometimes.
I mean, not when you're trying to win a 75-inch TV. I
And
don't think
a
I can win it.
soundbar.
I don't think I can win it anyway.
Probably not. I don't think the program director is allowed to win the prize from the station.
Then again, I could completely just change the rules and keep it for myself.
But why would you want to do that? And deprive the listeners?
because I'd get a TV and a soundbar.
The loyal listeners.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I'd get a TV and a soundbar.
75-inch 4K TV.
Yeah, and a soundbar. It looked good in my office. Got a big old blank wall above the couch. It looked good right there.
That would look good.
Wouldn't it look good right there? That would look good right there.
Would look good right there.
Yeah. All right. So I win. New rule. Let's change the copy. I win, and all you chumps can try to win maybe like the weekly prize. What's the weekly prize?
I just closed it out, but we can get that back real fast. The weekly prize is a Twin Peaks gift card.
You can get that.
Each drink, scenic views.
My TV. So football tonight, a lot of blah, but a couple of interesting games. You got, the blah is Elon, Wake Forest, I guess. Wake Forest, Sands, Sam Hartman, maybe interesting. Kent State there at the, are they not calling it the Jump House anymore?
I mean, the Bounce House.
The Bounce House.
The Bounce House. It's still the Bounce House.
FBC Mortgage Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, they paid money, but it's the Bounce House. Like, let's be honest.
But I thought, no, but that's like what they call it. The name of the stadium was the Bounce House. They changed it. Rhode Island, Georgia State, St. Francis against Western Michigan. Ooh. NC State, UConn. I actually am. Someone asked me this morning if NC State laying the 14 is the obvious play. I don't know that I necessarily think it is. No Devin Leary, and then I think Jim Moore at UConn, they did a really good job turning that thing around last year. That game is in Connecticut, so I kind of like UConn in that game. I mean, NC State's, I like UConn in the points.
I was going to say outright or just the points?
Points. You know what? I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole because in the next segment, I do want to talk a little bit about Florida, Utah, and then Nebraska, Minnesota, which are kind of the big ones tonight. But got some college football tonight. I'm pumped about it. I'm sure a lot of you will be locked in. I do want to talk about the Saints here because Dennis Allen talked about another running back injury. Real quick, though, reminder about South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, southpointvw.com. I was reminded earlier today, South Point Volkswagen I've been endorsing South Point since 2010. We started this show in February, but it was February 17th of 2010. A short time after that, South Point came on as an advertiser, and they have been with us for 13 years. It's incredible. I've driven Volkswagens now for 13 years. Erica has driven Volkswagens. We are a Volkswagen family. I don't just read copy points. I actually drive these vehicles. And once you drive a Volkswagen and you become a Volkswagen family, you'll understand. And for a long time, the thing was, man, people loved V-dubs. But then what happened whenever they started having kids and they needed a bigger vehicle? That's where the Atlas was just a game changer. 3-row, 7-seater family SUV. You can view their inventory at southpointvw.com. southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right. So Saints were on the practice field on Thursday. Afterwards, of course, there was no Kendre Miller, and then there were a couple of new faces in the running back room today. And Dennis Allen, after practice, was asked about Kendre Miller.
He's got a hamstring. We'll see next week. Injury reports are coming out real soon.
He's got a hamstring. Injury reports are coming out real soon. We'll see next week. So, Kendre Miller, third-round pick out of TCU, a guy that the Saints are certainly counting on, not only long-term, but in the immediate short-term, because you don't have Alvin Kamara for the first 3 weeks. So we were looking at it going, okay, AK is out for 3 weeks, so it's Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, and maybe it's Kirk Merritt. Ellis Merriweather was on the practice squad. We'll see how that goes, right? But you got those first two. Well, now Kendre Miller's got the hamstring injury. Alvin Kamara, by the way, with his suspension, is not allowed to practice. He is not with the team right now. So it is Jamal Williams and what? That is a really big concern. Remember, they cut Darrell Williams. They initially cut Ellis Merriweather, then signed him to the practice squad. But with this news now about Kendre Miller and his hamstring, the Saints have had to make some changes. And we always say it. It's not the final 53. It's the first 53 because inevitably there are always changes. Dudes who make the team on Tuesday aren't on the team by Thursday. It's just the way that it always goes. And today at practice, the New Orleans Saints did have two new running backs on the field. One of them a familiar face and one of them brand new. Tony Jones Jr. was back with the New Orleans Saints, as was rookie Jordan Mims. Here was DA on the two new running backs.
Well, look, Tony's a guy that's been in the system. He really has been in the same basic install meetings all throughout training camp. So there's a familiarity in what we're doing offensively. So that was what was intriguing about him. And Mims is a guy that we watched on tape and felt like he had some, a little bit of, change of pace back, some quickness, change of direction, as well as his ability out of the backfield.
Okay, let me unpack this just a little bit, okay? So just to kind of clear the deck again, right? Alvin Kamara's gone. Kendre Miller's hurt right now. We don't know what his status is going to be for week one. Injury report next week, we'll see. In the meantime, you've got Jamal Williams, Kirk Merritt, who they've moved to running back now, and they've waived Ellis Merriweather, who had made the practice squad. They waived him today, and they've brought in Tony Jones Jr. and Jordan Mims. Mims is an undrafted rookie free agent out of Fresno who had been with the Broncos. They cut him, and now the Saints have brought him in. So let's start with Tony Jones Jr. You remember Tony Jones was undrafted out of Notre Dame in 2020, and the Saints brought him in. And he spent 2020, 2021, and last year with the New Orleans Saints. They didn't bring him back, and he was in camp this year with the Denver Broncos. Remember that preseason in 2021? That's where we all looked at Tony Jones and went, maybe Tony Jones. That game against Baltimore, he had that electric 18-yard touchdown run where he dove for the pylon. In that game, he had 3 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. And we're all like, Tony Jones. Remember, this is in Baltimore, still hadn't lost a preseason game in like 6 years. So we looked at Tony Jones and went, they got it. They got the next of the long line of undrafted rookie free agent running backs that are going to make an impact. The Pierre Thomas and the Chris Ivory and the Travaris Cadet. They got the next one. It's Tony Jones. Well, Tony Jones' time in New Orleans didn't exactly play out that way. He played in one game as a rookie in the COVID year. He had 3 carries that season. In that 2021 year that we talked about, he ended up playing in 11 games for the Saints that season. Kamara had battled injury that year, and so they brought him in. They had Latavius Murray then as well.
Murray, present.
And we saw him carry the ball 54 times for 142 yards, a long of 11. It just wasn't great. It wasn't what we had seen in the preseason. Then last year, he played in 2 games, had 2 carries for 8 yards. And you remember the way that it went last year for New Orleans because of so much of the turnover and the injuries. Mark Ingram got hurt. They brought back Latavius Murray. And then
Murray, present.
Ultimately, Denver signed Latavius Murray off the Saints practice
Murray,
squad.
present.
And then at the end of the season, they brought in, who were the veterans? Eno Benjamin, David Johnson. It was like, it was a revolving door at running back for the Saints. And Tony Jones was a part of that, but didn't really stick. So to Dennis Allen's point, the appeal of Tony Jones right now is he spent 3 years in New Orleans, and this training camp he was in Denver with Sean Payton, who brought him to New Orleans. So same offense, same system, a lot of the same terminology, same concepts. So it's like he never left. It was a very easy transition to bring him back, kind of like last year when you brought back Latavius Murray.
Murray, present.
Very easy transition. So I get bringing Tony Jones back. And then you're kind of betting on the come with Jordan Mims. Because you heard the way that Dennis Allen described Jordan Mims. It's a rookie out of Fresno who, again, spent training camp with the Denver Broncos. I'm sorry, he was with the Bills. Forgive me. And so this is a guy who kind of mirrors what the Saints are looking to do at running back. He played a lot of football at Fresno. He took advantage of a COVID year, played a 5th season at Fresno, and over the course of his career had 680 rushing attempts. For context, Kendre Miller in 3 years at Fresno had a total of 300 rushing attempts. Jordan Mims had 680 rushing attempts over his 5 years at Fresno. But he also caught the ball. His receptions by year, 14, 21, 10, 25, 21. They threw him the ball. So that's a guy who can scoot, he can make you miss, you can catch the ball out of the backfield. So he fits the mold of what the Saints like in their running backs. So I understand why they added those two guys. Now, the best case scenario is Kendre Miller's healthy and ready for week 1, and you've got Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, and then whoever number 3 is. Maybe it's Tony Jones, maybe it's Jordan Mims, maybe it's Ellis Merriweather, maybe it's Kirk Merritt. Don't know. But the best case scenario is your top 2 guys week 1 against Tennessee are Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller. But y'all, I don't know if you've given this a ton of thought yet as we look ahead to week 1 for New Orleans against Tennessee. Do you remember anything about Tennessee's rush defense a year ago? Like, I'm going to jog your memory a little bit. Like, do you remember where Tennessee's rush defense ranked in the NFL last year, just offhand? Do you remember if they were good or not?
I don't recall them being great.
Paulie, do you remember Tennessee's rush defense, if they were good or not last year?
I do not know.
Yeah, they were number 1 in the NFL, 76 yards per game. Jeffrey Simmons right in the middle, pretty good. Remember him, Mississippi State? Pretty good dude. Yeah, them, good. You're going to face the team that was the best rush defense in the NFL last year without Alvin Kamara and maybe without Kendre Miller. And an offensive line that we're not sure is really that good. So let's just put a little star next to that one. Let's get Kendre Miller some stem cells. Let's get him some PRP. Let's get him some cupping, some scraping, whatever you got to do. Call my girl Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. Get Kendre Miller on that table. Let's get him right. Because you got a big challenge against that defensive front from Tennessee week 1. And I'd really like to see Kendre Miller there. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break, y'all. When we come back, we will go around the SEC. Deion Sanders talking about his opener. Coach Prime, man. Colorado stinks, but Coach Prime just keeps stealing headlines, man. It's a brilliant hire, even if he never wins a game. The amount of collateral that Deion Sanders has built and getting Colorado back into the Big 12 and just people caring about that program again, it's amazing. So talk about Coach Prime. And we'll talk a little bit about Florida, Utah, and then Nebraska, Minnesota, the other big one tonight in college football. We're glad you're with us. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Of course, if you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. You need representation. Do what injured people in our state have done for 30 years. Get Gordon and get it done. You can always call 888-8888, 888-8888, or go to getgordon.com. A couple things. Remember, I told you yesterday, the Grubbin with G interview with Harold Perkins is up. I always encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, man, go follow Gordon on all the social media. Our buddy Taylor O'Brien is the content director for all of Gordon's social medias. Does a great job with all the stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's like free legal tips there, but the content that he does with the members of the G team is awesome. I mean, it's a one-on-one sit-down with Harold Perkins and Gordon McKernan. They had one with Mason Smith earlier this week, so check it out. And, of course, by the way, today is the last day to enter your artwork for the Get Gordon Billboards contest. You can win a part of $2,000 in prizes. Go to getgordonbillboards.com. Getgordonbillboards.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Officially, it's a fridge full of beer. Unofficially, it's free AC. Coors Light, the official beer of everything unofficial.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
All right, we got college football tonight, y'all. How many games is this on the slate tonight?
I think it's 7.
Oh, it's more than 7 tonight.
Is it?
Let's see. Elon, Wake Forest, Kent State, UCF, Rhode Island, Georgia State, St. Francis, Western Michigan, NC State, UConn, Florida, Utah, Nebraska, Minnesota, South Dakota, Missouri, Arkansas, Pine Bluff against Tulsa, North Carolina, A&T against UAB. I know you'll be locked into that one, Muse. And then Southern Utah against Arizona State, so 11.
11,
So we had 11 games tonight. There's kind of something for everyone. And that Southern Utah-Arizona game, by the way, starts at 9. I don't see a TV affiliate listed for this, so surely that has to be broadcast somewhere. See if you can find it.
What was that?
Southern Utah against Arizona State. So the Sun Devils. You're talking about them Devils now.
I bet it's the Pac-12 network. I can
But
look
it doesn't
there.
say Pac-12 network on here. And I'm looking at ESPN.com, and they list alternate networks. Like they list CBS Sports Network, they list ESPN Plus, they list Fox. So they list the FS1, they list the affiliate. So anyway, maybe you can let me know if you see that somewhere. Let me bypass a traditional around the SEC here so we can dig in a little bit on Florida, Utah, and we'll get to Shane Beamer, some comments he made about North Carolina as well. Pete Thamel was on College Football Live, and this is the big story for Florida, Utah tonight, is Cam Rising. Cam Rising, who's the senior quarterback, the super senior quarterback at Utah. He's led Utah to back-to-back Pac-12 championships, tore his ACL in the Rose Bowl, and he is not going to play tonight for Utah against Florida.
Kelsey, Cam Rising, the starting quarterback for Utah, is doubtful for the game tomorrow night and not expected to play. Sources told me last night that Bryson Barnes, the junior who had one start last year, a victory at Washington State, and then came in for Rising in the Rose Bowl after he tore his ACL, will get the look as the starting quarterback for the Utes. We will, Kelsey, also see some of Nate Johnson. The one thing Kyle Whittingham was not vague about this week was that the young quarterback who gives them a wildcat look and a little bit of dynamism from the position will play no matter who the starter is. But it looks like Barnes will be the primary quarterback, with Nate Johnson filling in some snaps to give them some different looks from under center.
How do we feel about this game? Muse, how do you feel about Florida-Utah tonight?
I'll be honest.
Don't lie to me.
The Cam Rising injury does make me second guess it a bit, but I'm looking at it right now. It's still a 5-point line. That tells you all you kind of need to know about Florida. Like, we all expect them to not be very good, but that's extensive where you have a veteran quarterback like Cam Rising out, and it's still almost a touchdown line, even on the road for Florida. I get that too, but that feels significant.
So, new quarterback with Graham Mertz.
Yep.
Last year, Florida's offensive line was probably the best unit on their team. Remember, they got Osiris Torrance in there. They were very good. Florida averaged 5.5 yards per carry. Now, a big part of that was Anthony Richardson. He was a big physical dude, and he could make a lot of things happen. He had a 75-yard run against LSU, so he could tilt the field all by his lonesome. But Florida loses 4 of its 5 starters on the offensive line. The only returning starter is the center, who is injured and may not play in this ballgame. As someone pointed out yesterday, does Mike D's angle hold true here, where a team the week without its starting center fails to cover 85% of the time? But I think, Muse, the point you made is right on. The fact that Florida is going on the road to Florida, not
Right.
Florida Atlantic, the University of Florida, is playing Utah. Utah loses its starting quarterback and is still a 5-point favorite over the Gators, speaks volumes about Florida's roster. And listen, I know there's a lot of you going, yeah, Matt, so high on Billy Napier now. I get it. Like, I think Billy Napier made a lot of sense. And I'm not throwing dirt. I mean, they're about to play the first game of year 2. But I think what's clear is, number one, he had a massive rebuild on his hands. And number two, he has not as effectively made use of the portal the way that Brian Kelly did a year ago, the way that it looks like Hugh Freeze has done this year. Jury's out. I mean, we'll see. But Napier may be setting himself for a longer build, not as steep of a curve where you have to go 0 to 100 quickly, but more of a slow build there. I mean, Utah's run defense last year held 7 of their opponents under 100 yards. Like that's one of the calling cards of Utah, is they've been very good on their defensive interior at the line of scrimmage. They play bully ball. That's what Kyle Whittingham has done. So, and we probably don't. I mean, I'm as guilty as this as anyone, because we just don't pay a lot of attention to the Pac-12, and they haven't warranted it. But if you look at Kyle Whittingham during his time in Utah, and he's been the coach there since 2011, which is crazy to think. He has been, I'm sorry, he's been the coach there since 2004, when Meyer was the coach there in 2004, and then he left, and Whittingham coached the bowl game and then got the job full-time in 2005. Like, Kyle Whittingham since 2005, 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins. Then they went 13-0 in that 2008 season when they won the Sugar Bowl, when they beat Alabama. 10, 10, 8, then back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons. And that was when they made the transition in the Pac-12 in 2011. They won 8 games their first year, then 5, 5, 9, 10, 9, 7, 9, 11, COVID year, 10-4, 10-4, back-to-back years, winning the Pac-12. I mean, since Kyle Whittingham has been the coach, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double-digit win seasons, and another 1, 2, 3, and another 3 where they won 9 games. 10 years they have won 9 games or more. I mean, he has been a pillar of stability in Salt Lake City. I mean, you don't think of these G5 teams coming into the Power 5 and having tremendous success, but Utah in the Pac-12 and TCU in the Big 12 have been the best examples of that. So I mean, I know we're like SEC. It's weird because when you're SEC centric, you kind of like, there's the whole root for the SEC thing. And But the flip side of it is people here generally hate Florida. And so you'd kind of like to see Florida lose. So it's this weird catch-22. No, I know.
Generally.
But you know what I mean, right?
I
It's a weird catch-22 where, yeah, you kind of want the SEC, the big bad SEC, to go on the road and flex their muscle, but you kind of want Florida to be embarrassed as well. But that's where I always say, I don't care. Like, I'm not a root for the conference guy. If we got to play, I'm going to use we. If we got to play Florida every year, I want Florida to suck. I want them to suck. I don't want Florida to be good. I want Florida to be Vanderbilt. That's what I want. I want Florida to be Ron Zook, Florida. That's what I want. I want Florida to be Will Muschamp 2011, come to Tiger Stadium, get your ass whipped, Florida. That's who I want Florida to be. We got to play, and I know they're changing the schedules, and LSU ain't going to play them every year, but I don't want them to be good. Go be a doormat. I hope Billy Napier completely flames out and they suck for a decade or longer.
You make a Graham Mertz tonight. I mean, that's you mentioned the defense for Utah. That could very well be the reason for the line still, right? I mean,
Graham Mertz lost his job at Wisconsin.
And on top of that, he doesn't really fit what Billy Napier normally wants as a quarterback at all. Like, at all. So, I mean, I still like Utah tonight, and I'll lay the 5 too, honestly.
Okay.
I will. I think they can win that game at least by 1 touchdown. They arguably should maybe win by at least 10, even without Rising. I like the defense a lot going against Mertz.
If Cam Rising was there, I would have no hesitation whatsoever.
Hesitation, yeah.
In playing at Rice Eccles is interesting because, listen, it's Florida. They've played in every SEC road venue. I'm not saying that this is like something they've never seen before, but it's more of a challenge than playing at home or a neutral site. Like, you're going on the road in a tough place to play where the elements and the fans and everything are going to be against you. So I like Utah in the game. Real quick, do you have a feeling on Wisconsin, Nebraska?
You mean Minnesota, Nebraska?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking Mertz.
I think Minnesota probably wins it. I could see Nebraska covering the 7, though. And that's going to be part of my what to watch, but I'm very intrigued with Matt Rule's debut tonight. I mean, he's going into the deep end, Big Ten conference game right off the jump. They very much feel like a team, how we've kind of talked about Auburn. They might not be great, but they're going to beat somebody along the way that they shouldn't. And if you're a 7-point underdog, you probably shouldn't win that game, but we'll see if they do tonight. I don't hate them. This early, I would side with Minnesota to win the game, but maybe Nebraska the points.
Matt Rule's a really good coach. He has taken 2 of the worst jobs in college football at Temple and then at Baylor after the Art Briles scandal. Briles made Baylor good, but the scandal, they completely just gutted that program. His first year at Temple, they were 2-10. His first year at Baylor, they were 1-11. He is taking over a terrible situation in Nebraska. Like, Nebraska is not going to be good this year. Like, this year, Matt Rule's great, and he will, whatever glass ceiling is there at Nebraska, he will bump up against it over time, but it ain't going to be this year. All right, it's After Further Review. Of course, Around the SEC is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Face-to-face sales, service after the sale, the official office equipment provider, the LSU Tigers, the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Raging Cajuns, and the Baton Rouge Zydeco. Gulf Coast Office Products. Let me knock out a quick break, wrap up hour number 1. We're heading to Tallahassee in 30 minutes, checking with our buddy Curt Weiler on the Seminoles and how their preparation's going. Stick with us here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, 2 amazing hotel properties in Baton Rouge. I got to give a super shout-out to my guy, Chef Jason Hebert, over at Tallulah inside of the Renaissance Hotel. I've told you before, Chef Jason Hebert, he's chef who trained in New York City, in Maine, San Francisco, points in between. This is a chef-curated menu at Tallulah. And, oh, by the way, they had Fête Rouge yesterday, which is it's the Baton Rouge Epicurean Society, and Chef Jason Hebert won the gold medal yesterday at Fête Rouge for the best restaurant and the best dishes that he had there. Congrats to Chef Jason Hebert on your big win over at Fête Rouge. I'm telling y'all, don't think of it as just, this is like, like buffet style hotel. No. It's a chef-curated menu that you have got to try. It's Tallulah inside the Renaissance Hotel.
I'm Chris Nakamoto, and here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. Multiple complaints about a teacher who was terminated this week fell on deaf ears. Tonight, the WBRZ investigative unit learning Complaints against that teacher crossing the line started 3 years ago, but those complaints didn't go anywhere, ignored by the school system and the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, not taking action. Hear from the mother who is demanding action and answers now about what happened. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Where's Feinswag? I cannot believe we're going to talk about volleyball and Lee Feinswag isn't here for it. This just feels... I need a ding. Come on, Muse. Get it together.
Lee hasn't been here in like 3 months, so I'm out of practice on the dings with volleyball.
Get it together here, champ. Can you turn this up? Turn the sound up on this. If you didn't hear this yesterday, the Nebraska, you've probably seen it by now. The Nebraska volleyball team. Volleyball's huge in Nebraska. They had a volleyball match against Omaha.
Yeah, that's it.
Against Omaha. In Memorial Stadium. They had 92,003 fans go watch a volleyball match in a football stadium. They came out to the Alan Parsons Project song series, which was the Chicago Bulls intro for the 90s, as everyone remembers. I mean, like, who knew a volleyball match could kind of give you goosebumps? I mean, this is kind of friggin' sweet.
Dude, the entrance was awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what's the coolest part? Look, I'm not a volleyball fan. Respect, I mean, they're great athletes. Like, that, no disrespect at all there whatsoever. It just ain't my right? Whatever. But I do love, I say this all the time, I love novelties. Garth Brooks playing in Tiger Stadium. You can get 102,000 people to pack the gills in Tiger Stadium to watch Garth Brooks. I love the NHL Stadium Series. I'm not a big hockey guy, right? But when they go play outdoors on New Year's Day with NHL games, I'm kind of down for that, right? The MLB, the Field of Dreams game, right? A really cool. I love novelties in sports when they'll play. Like they play they played bowl games at Yankee Stadium and at Wrigley Field. Like I'm down for that. This is awesome. Like there's a drone shot. There's a shot of the state, an aerial shot, and you can see the fighter jet doing the flyover from the. I guess that's a drone or a helicopter, whatever. That better be a drone. That better not be a helicopter. Like a fighter jet going under a helicopter would be scary as hell.
That doesn't seem safe.
That would be scary as hell. Not for the fighter jet, but for the helicopter. Anyway, I love novelties. I think it's really cool. They set a world record for the most ever, the highest attendance for a women's sporting event. It beat a Champions League match between FC Barcelona and Wolfsburg. And the previous record for a women's sporting event in the U.S. was the Women's World Cup back in 1999, the Brandi Chastain game when the U.S. beat China on penalty kicks. So what a really cool thing, man. Good for those young ladies, and hat tip to Nebraska people. Probably not the greatest thing for like the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce. You know what I mean? Like when you can put 92,000 people in a football stadium for a volleyball match, it probably more of an indictment on your city, but still a cool thing nonetheless. All right, hour number 2 is next.
AFR.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com, name brand tires at wholesale prices. They've been doing that for more than 50 years, since 1968 when Mr. Charlie opened up the doors back in the day. And he's always said, always, that they'll treat you like family because they're family owned and operated. It's just how they're going to do business and have always done business. It's Shawbills. Remember, when you buy tires at Shawbills, they extend you the Charlie's Dozen. That's a dozen benefits to buying your tires at Shawbills, which includes their price match guarantee. If you buy tires at Shawbills and then you find them advertised cheaper, that tire advertised cheaper somewhere else, they will reimburse you 125% of the price of the tire that you paid. Learn more at ShawBillsTire.com. You can shop tires online. You can find location. You can schedule service at ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. And if you're looking for a career instead of a job, Shawbills wants to talk to you. It's Shawbills, where we keep you rolling.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson will get the biggest contract ever at his position. 4 years, $66 million, with $42.5 million guaranteed. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports the Patriots will sign quarterback Matt Corral, who was cut by the Panthers on Wednesday. The first big weekend of the college football season kicks off tonight in Salt Lake City with 14th-ranked Utah hosting Florida. Utes quarterback Cam Rising not expected to play, still recovering from a torn ACL. ESPN's Greg McElroy.
It's massive, but really more from a leadership standpoint than anything else. If you look at how Utah has now been built in year 19 for Kyle Whittingham, they're built from the inside out, and the offensive line and the run game are going to have to take ownership in Cam Rising's absence.
Greg McElroy, Utah and Florida at 8 Eastern on ESPN. At the U.S. Open, American Michael Mmoh wins his second-round match, beating fellow American John Isner, who now plans to retire after 17 years on tour.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
So. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. 15 minutes, we're heading to Tallahassee. Curt Weiler will be here of Florida State's Rivals Network. Next hour, Mike Triplett. Do me a favor. Shoot Mike just a reminder text. I forgot to do that earlier today. Mike's good. He's with us every Thursday. I just always like to text just to make sure, hey, just making sure we're good. Anyway, a lot I want to get to here, including sports books are holding their breath on LSU a little bit. I'll get to that in a second. Real quick, good news on Joe Burrow. You heard there in SportsCenter. Joey B was back on the practice field, which was awesome. His Bengals and former LSU teammate Jamar Chase met with reporters and was pretty clear with his instructions toward Joey B.
That's why I told him don't come until week 5. Like, I don't want you back until you know you're ready, bro. Like, that same thing with me. He didn't tell me that, but in my mind, I said I'm going to be back when you want me to be there and be ready. You know what I'm saying? It's just about being your healthiest.
Tomorrow, will you know that?
Was there a moment where he said, hey, tomorrow I'm ready?
He never told me that he's ready. He told me he feel good. That's another thing about him. He's just going to say, I feel good. I'm okay. So, like.
You gotta love whenever they were amplifying the sound of the reporter. That's what that was. They were trying to, because the reporter was off mic, they were trying to amplify the sound of the reporter. But they had music playing in practice, which you hear in the background, so they amplified the music as well, so you couldn't even hear the guy. But Jamar Chase was saying, look, don't come back to week 5. Meaning start the season on PUP. Like, do not come back until you're ready. Take another month and be ready to go. But that's just Burrow. I mean, even if you remember Burrow in the year he was coming off the when his knee exploded, he even by his own admission, said that he wasn't really himself until after their bye. I mean, it was about the middle of the season before he felt like he was really right. So, but the real challenge for Cincinnati, and it's weird that we're talking so much Bengals, but I think we're all just used to it now because there's great interest because of Joe. The weird thing about Cincinnati is when you win the division and you play a first-place schedule, look at the opponents that you have to play. And their schedule this year is reflective of that. In those first 4 weeks, they're at the Browns, they're home against Baltimore, home against the Rams, at the Titans. So if Burrow were, which he's not, clearly, but if he were to start the season on PUP and miss the first 4 weeks and come back week 5, he would miss Browns, Ravens, Rams, Titans. Now, that's not completely unmanageable, but if you dig yourself in too deep of a hole and know you've still got a trip to San Francisco, you got to play the Bills at home, you got to go to Baltimore, you got 2 games against the Steelers, you're at KC, you got to go to Minnesota, or you got Minnesota at home. I guess my point is, like, if you're Cincinnati, you really can't afford to start. I mean, they were 12, and 4. I mean, you can't afford to start the season slowly against that manageable part because of what's ahead. And yes, they were 12-4 because the game that they played against the Bills when DeMar Hamlin, the episode happened, there was a no contest. So, of course, the Bills and the Bengals played only 16 games last year. But anyway, Joey B was back out there. Here was Herm. Herm Edwards is back at ESPN now. He's on Get Up and talked about why he wouldn't rush Joe Burrow back for week 1.
Joe Burrow says, I want to go, but you're going to deal with the doctors and the trade. This is a long season, 17 games, and every game is important. This team is double-digit winning team, and they're playing in a tough division, by the way, a division that's going to be very competitive. But you don't want to risk a guy that's going to provide you at least 35-plus touchdown passes a year for one game. It's a long season, so they'll measure it, and Joe Burrow's a competitor. He wants to play. Only the doctors and the head coach know exactly where he's at.
It was Herm Edwards talking about Joey B, who's looked like he's on track to be back with that calf injury, but we'll see. Okay, it's After Further Review, brought to you by Mold Zero USA, mold-0usa.com. I'm going to get to how LSU has a lot of people in Vegas holding their breath in just a second, but got to remind you about Mold Zero USA. Go to the website, mold-0usa.com. You can get all the info there, get the phone numbers. There's a 225 and a 504 phone number. But they service all of Louisiana, really all of the Gulf South. So if you got issues with mold, other harmful pathogens, bypass traditional remediation methods. This is a cheaper, more effective, more cost-effective, more convenient way to go about killing mold and removing odor and other harmful pathogens. It's a patented non-toxic dry fog. And Jim Woodworth can explain the whole thing to you. Jim's done remediation work and cleanup work, disaster work from 9/11 to the BP oil spill, and now owning and operating Mold Zero USA. Mold-0usa.com. Mold-0usa.com. So for the first time in 8 years, a team other than Bama or Clemson is favored to win the national title. Georgia is the consensus favorite to win the national title this year. And that's not surprising. They're back-to-back national champions. Their schedule is a cakewalk. Everyone understands why Georgia is favored to win the national championship. That's exactly what they should be. If you look at the odds to win the CFP, Georgia at plus 240 has the best odds, followed by Bama at plus 550, Ohio State plus 800, Michigan plus 850, and then a couple of teams at 10-1 are USC and LSU. And there's a lot of different sports books that are obviously taking national championship bets. Ohio State has garnered the most money at DraftKings, our partner. But at Caesars, LSU has attracted more bets than any other team to win the national championship. So Caesars at 10-1 has a massive liability against LSU. And it makes sense because LSU presents great value to bettors. We've talked about this. LSU is going to be favored in every game that they play this year, except the road trip to Alabama. And while I know there's people that are high on Alabama, the thing that I have said and will continue to say, if it was any other logo on that helmet or color on that jersey, that's not a team anyone's picking to win the national championship. Bama played 5 50-50 games a year ago, and the best player in college football, Bryce Young, bailed them out time and time again. And now you are unsettled at quarterback. You still don't have an experienced or dynamic receiving core. Jahmyr Gibbs is gone. Bama is not at the line of scrimmage what they have been in the past, where they could just go play bully ball when they needed to. You replace both of your coordinators, and I know Nick has done a great job replacing coordinators over the years, but that's still a massive question. If Tommy Rees and whatever combination of quarterbacks they use can get that offense rolling again, Bama has legitimate questions. And if they weren't named Alabama, they wouldn't be favored where they are. And I guess to a degree, it's Nick Saban, and he's earned that right, but he's still got to go prove it. And LSU's coming off a season where they won 10 games, and Brian Kelly surprised a lot of people, and that arrow was pointing up. And I want to point this out to you because in our minds, we think about the team that's favored to win the national championship and why Georgia's there, and we automatically just default them to there, and I get it. I do. But it's worth remembering that Bama was favored to win the national title a year ago, and they didn't come close to sniffing it. And when you look at recent eventual champions preseason odds, it tells a very interesting story. 2019 LSU had the 9th best odds preseason to win the national championship. 2019 LSU preseason was plus 3,300. Means you bet $100, you would have won 3,300 on LSU. Those are pretty long odds. 2016 Clemson was plus 700. 2015 Bama was plus 700. 2014 Ohio State was plus 4,000. They had the 14th best odds and went on to win the national championship. What do all of those teams I just mentioned have in common? 2019 LSU, 2016 Clemson, 2015 Alabama, 2014 Ohio State. What do they all have in common? What did they all have in common? They had veteran quarterbacks. Now, Ohio State was a little bit of an asterisk, obviously, because J.T. Barrett got injured, and they ended up going through 3 quarterbacks, and Cardale Jones ended up playing. But in the playoff. But the point is, LSU's got the thing that all of those teams had. So it makes them a good value bet. It doesn't make them the favorite, clearly. It doesn't mean that it's even the most likely thing to happen. But it's why they're a value play at 10-1 and why they're the biggest liability. Well, the biggest liability the sports books have actually is Colorado, because Colorado is at 500-1, and people are putting money on it because it's fun and it's Dion. And also, if Colorado actually did win the national championship, that would be the biggest liability the sports books have by numbers. But realistically, Colorado's not winning a national championship. But realistically, LSU at 10-1 has a lot of people out in the desert holding their breaths right now. All right, it's after further review. If the Tigers are going to capitalize, you got to go win week 1. If you lose week 1 against Florida State, you've left yourself no margin for error. So, how does their opponent look? We're heading to Tallahassee. Curt Weiler of the Rivals Network is going to join us next to give us an update on the Florida State Seminoles. We preview Sunday Showdown in Orlando. Stay with us here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential. Think real estate, think Darren James, agent225.com, agent225.com. I always tell you to go to the website, agent225.com. Yes, they got every home listed by every company, all in one place, the most user-friendly website on real estate. But Darren also has all of his listings there. So, new on the site today. This in Live Oak Landing. New on the site today, 234.9, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet. What other realtor is doing daily radio ads promoting his listing, your property? Darren James. Guy's a marketing genius. Part of why he's on the Wall Street Journal's list of the top 1,000 realtors in America. Number 54 in the country. If you need to sell your home, you need the best. You need Darren James. 335-7666. That's Darren's cell. Call him right now. Text him right now. 335-7666 or agent225.com.
Think real estate. Think Darren James.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Let's go down to Tallahassee, check in on the Noles. Curt Weiler, good enough to join us from part of the Rivals Network there in Tallahassee. Good enough to join us. We appreciate it. Curt, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. I am ready for this game. We've talked about it enough. We'll talk about it a little more, but I'm ready for it to happen.
That's kind of how it goes when you have a big game to anticipate all throughout the offseason. What my assumption on this one, Curt, is everybody who covers LSU is going to pick LSU to win this game. Everybody who's close to Florida State or covers them is going to pick the Noles to win this game. That's just when you have a really closely contested game, a lot of nervous energy. What is sort of the vibe check in Tallahassee here a couple days before the game?
I mean, I think you nailed it. It's funny, one of my colleagues at the Osceola tournament, we were watching practice this morning, our last practice availability before the game. He's kind of like, So are any of us going to be the one to pick LSU, or are we just going to build those expectations up? Because, I mean, that is how it goes in these, where I think both these teams are real good. It's going to come down to a slim margin, and we're kind of each only getting to see one team. You know, I mean, I've been incredibly impressed with this FSU team this preseason. And I think, frankly, if you ask the fans, I think the fans will be a little surprised that Florida State's not favored in this game. But I think, again, that's kind of how fandom goes and how when you're paying more attention to one side, how things go. But, I mean, the vibes are high all around for sure.
Yeah, so one fan base is going to be supremely disappointed on Sunday night and have national title hopes on life support after one game. Let's talk about this Florida State team a little bit and what we know. So Jordan Travis is back. He's a 6-year starter. We all understand what he is there. Aside from Jordan Travis and let's say Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, right? We know that that's kind of like the big three. What else? What other dynamic playmakers do we need to be aware of going into Sunday night?
I mean, I would throw Trey Benson in there in the backfield. He's from Mississippi. He was at Oregon. He had a very severe knee injury last year at Oregon. It felt like still kind of getting going again, getting to feel like himself again in that game last year. He was not the most impactful running back. Mm-hmm. But as the season went on, he became clearly the best option there. And, I mean, he's going to lead. They're going to be trotting a few guys out there, but he's definitely, I mean, the most NFL prospect guy right now. And, I mean, he's a guy among many of the guys you already named who came back, could have gone to the NFL, came back to kind of try and pursue more. Honestly, another name that I would have been shocked to tell you coming into the preseason from your neck of the woods, Destin Hill, the freshman who had the delayed enrollment. He was originally a 2021 recruit, was one of the higher-rated recruits in Florida State's 2021 class, but has delayed enrollment over 2 years. I was skeptical that a guy could just pick up football after being away from it that long, but he has shocked me how good he's been on a consistent basis. I mean, I think there's a world where he is a true freshman start Sunday. Even if he doesn't, he's going to play a lot.
That offensive line, we've talked a lot about it here. That's a veteran group that's got a ton of starts under their belt. But from afar, it looks like maybe there isn't a superstar, right? Like that top round, top 60 draft pick. What is sort of the calling card of that unit?
I mean, frankly, I would say how well they fit what Florida State's looking to do. I mean, so much of Mike Norvell's offense is built around wanting to run counter and running varies off of counter. I mean, frankly, that Miami game last year, Florida State running a lot of the same play, and Miami was just not especially interested in trying to adjust to stop it. And they do that real well. I think last year they were good pass blocking, but I think having a quarterback like Jordan Travis, I mean, if you watch the Florida game, he had a few against LSU too, where he'll get you out of some sticky situations that really you wouldn't think a quarterback could, help that. So I think there is room for improvement with the pass blocking. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Florida State's the experience line. I think LSU's is, I mean, when you're projecting draft prospects, probably a little more touted there, even if it's maybe more 2025 guys than 2024. But no, I mean, I think they do that. And frankly, they're deep. I mean, I think it's not often, it's been a long time at Florida State since there were 8 guys they felt good about, where, I mean, injuries are going to happen there over the course of the year. And I think they feel good both about the 5 they're trotting out there and what they'll be able to do, but also having 2 or 3 who they think can win them games behind them.
Curt Weiler's with us, theosceola.com, part of the Rivals Network. He's on Twitter at Curt M. Weiler. That's Curt with a C. Let's flip it over and talk defense. Will Campbell got his sort of welcome to college in a rude way with drawing Jared Verse in his first game as a true freshman. I think that matchup has to be more competitive this year. But what about that Florida State defensive front as a whole? What are the expectations with that group on Sunday night?
I think they're pretty good, especially with, I mean, the starting 4, or even maybe go a little deeper than that, kind of the rotation of your top 6 or 8 guys. I think they feel quite good about him. You talked about Jared Verse, and he got hurt actually the week after the LSU game at Louisville, and he came back to a certain point, was maybe never entirely that same player again, and that paved the path for Patrick Payton to kind of emerge, take a lot of his playing time, and he ended up being the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. So now those two are kind of be starting opposite each other at defensive end, and that kind of makes for quite a duo there. I think at tackle, they bring Tavian Lovett back. Statistically not the most impactful in last year's game. He got hurt actually late in the game. I think maybe on the drive that LSU tied the game up. If or almost tied the game up, if memory serves. He got hurt and really was never himself again, but he's had a long recovery back, but he's been really impressive at tackle this preseason. And they brought in a transfer in Braden Fisk from Western Michigan, who's also looked really good. I think that four I feel real good about. There are a few other guys that I feel good about in that, and I think they have a chance to be really good. There is a bit of a couple injuries in either spots, and things get a little shakier. The drop-off isn't incredibly steep, but it would be noticeable. But they're in a pretty good spot going into this weekend. What is
The question mark, or if there is one, perceived weakness defensively for Florida State right now?
It's funny. There's not one that I look at as really concerning from having watched, and we've gotten to watch a bunch of full practices. That's just kind of how things roll with Mike Norvell. So we get an assessment of this team. I like, especially kind of the starting 11 they're going to trot out across the board. Obviously, the big loss, really the only real loss on defense of note, was Jamie Robinson at safety, and they've had a few guys kind of battling there, trying to step up. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you're getting thrown into the deep end a bit. He was definitely a leader of that defense. And so if a guy like Shaheem Brown can fill that void, or if they've got a few freshmen who've looked really good, they might be playing some freshmen back there, which is obviously in the two deep that is. And obviously that's not an easy task going against those LSU wide receivers in your first game. I think the same could be said for linebacker, where I think you feel good about their top two or three guys. Beyond that, when they're going to have to rotate, which they will some, you're going to get some guys that haven't played as much college football, if any at all, and obviously that could be something that LSU could exploit for sure.
Is that maybe from my perspective, Curt, LSU's got a veteran quarterback, and God, just so much receiving talent that's so good. Like, is that the area where, like, the Florida State secondary, the LSU receivers, where maybe the field tilts a little toward LSU?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think I think truthfully, that is where on both sides of the ball the game will be decided, because I think Florida State's wide receiver group and tight ends, for that matter, you throw them in the mix, have also looked really good. So yeah, I think the case could be made. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about more deep balls for LSU's offense. It wasn't a huge part of Jaden Daniels' game last season. If that is a bigger part, if he's able to hit some of those, that would go a long way. And the chances might be there. I don't think by any means that Florida State's got one of the 5 best secondaries in the country by any means, but I think even without a Jamie Robinson, it's a chance to be good. But I'm curious how, I mean, is LSU going to be starting 2 new corners who are transfer additions? And that's, I mean, the Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, not even counting in any other guys, is quite a tough 1-2 punch to have to go about. So I really think which secondary performs better could very well be which team wins the game.
It'd be remiss if we didn't talk about special teams, because that was a disaster for LSU, not only in this game a year ago, but really all season. It was an Achilles heel that was undeniable. They think they've fixed it a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the Noles and how they are in the third phase. Maybe we start with sort of a thumbnail on the kicking game.
So the kicking game is interesting. It wasn't great for Florida State last year either. I mean, I guess they hit one. They won a 2 in last year's game, I want to say, the LSU game. The kicker, Ryan Fitzgerald, struggled enough last year where, frankly, I think if they had a second option, he would have gotten a chance. I mean, they kind of lost the NC State game because they were in field goal range where you could maybe settle for one and didn't feel good enough to try it, because it was, I mean, if you miss the field goal, you lose, and they end up losing because they throw a pick because they don't entirely trust the kicker. He has looked better this preseason. He was in a battle. I mean, they brought in a local kid who played at ETSU to really push it, and Ryan Fitzgerald won the job again. He has looked better, but until you see that in the game, there are definite questions over. I mean, you need to see him do it when it counts to really believe in him. So it's interesting on both sides of that for sure.
Return game, coverage units, I mean, all of that. There's how did those units look for Florida State?
So the punt returner, it looks like it's going to be Keon Coleman. I think he's listed as the starter. They're replacing Micah Pittman there, who was not the most athletic with it, but was very consistent with catching the punt, which for Florida State from some of the past few years, Florida State fans took that for sure. But I think Keon's got a chance to be explosive back there. I mean, he's a pretty ridiculous athlete. Kick returner, I mean, you're going to probably rotate some guys through, but I mean, they've had Trey Benson, their starting running back, doing it a lot. He returned one last year against Boston College for a touchdown. So think you have the chance there. I mean, they spend a lot of time on special teams. They spend a solid 20, probably 15, 20 minutes every practice on special teams, go through a few different various phases.
Lastly, if there's a blueprint for Mike Norvell, I mean, a realistic, right? I mean, obviously we say, hey, it'd be great if it was a 50 burger and you beat them 50-10. But, like, realistically, what's the path for Florida State if everything goes according to how they'd like to control the pace and tempo of this game?
I mean, kind of how they were on third down last year would be a big thing. They were in some adverse third downs, and Jordan Travis really had some really nice plays to pick them up. Yep. Staying on the field will be a big thing because, you keep that LSU offense, which I think we all think is going to be really good, off the field. I think you're testing those cornerbacks you're seeing. I mean, in their first game at the new school where they're at, I think you're seeing you obviously, Harold Perkins is kind of you always have to keep an eye on him type guy. I'm fascinated all the different ways LSU uses him, and if Florida State can't get him on Jaheim Bell, who's a really athletic tight end, and how he would handle that matchup. And frankly, I think you're going to have to run the ball. I think they ran the ball some, but not enough last year. I think with the run game and without Mason Smith available, you see how up to stopping the run that LSU defensive line is.
They'll tee it up and kick it off 6:30 Central Time, Sunday night in Orlando. Curt, you're right. We've talked a ton about this game for a lot of months. It's going to be nice to actually get on the field, play it, and have something to dissect afterwards. He's on Twitter at Curt M. Weiler, Curt with a C, theosceola.com if you want to check out the coverage there from the Florida State side this week. Curt, we appreciate it, man. Enjoy the game Sunday.
You as well, Matt. Thanks for having me again.
It's our pleasure. But it's after further review. We're glad to have you aboard with us here. Every Thursday during football season, we do our What to Watch. Paulie, Muse, and I will give you 3 things we're keeping an eye on this football weekend. And on Monday when we're back here, we'll recap what we saw. So we'll do What to Watch, when we come back next. Muse will get Tigers and the Pros here in about 15 minutes. Thanks for being with us here on a Thursday edition of AFR presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Our What to Watch is next.
AFR.
Well, one thing we know, it has been really hot, and thankfully, right now, it is not. It is a pleasant 80 degrees in Baton Rouge at 4:30 in the afternoon. Have not been able to say that much over the past several weeks, but we're heading toward the weekend. If your AC is giving you trouble, call River City's 1 Hour Air. Rob sent this 5-star Google review. Said, I'd like to say I appreciate all the help that David Sells provided. He was very professional each time he came out. I had a leak, and he was determined to find it and resolve my problem. He explained things to me as he went along, told me what my options were going forward. Thanks to David Sells and River City's 1 Hour Air. Another 5-star Google review. One of the things you consistently hear in every one of those reviews is how they explain options. They're never just going to slap you with a big high-ticket item. They're going to tell you and explain what all of your good, better, and best options would be. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Give them a call, 752-0001.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
All right, rolling through a Thursday edition of AFR. Mike Triplett coming up in about 45 minutes. If you missed the news earlier today, Saints running back Kendre Miller, hamstring injury. DA would not go into the depth of or severity. There'll be an injury report next week, but the Saints did add 2 running backs, Tony Jones Jr. and Jordan Mims, rookie out of Fresno State. So they're looking to supplement there in the event that they don't have Kendre Miller, clearly, in the opener against Tennessee. That we know they'll already be down Alvin Kamara against a team that led the NFL in rush defense a year ago. It's a tough draw week 1, considering you might be down 2 of your top 3 running backs in this ballgame. So Mike Triplett next hour, we'll get to that. Okay, every Thursday, we do this here in hour number 2. We head into the weekend, and it's we do What to Watch looking at either college or NFL. Well, not into the NFL weekend, so it'll be a college version of What to Watch.
Here's what we're watching this football weekend.
I love how detailed the intro is.
Hey, man, simple to the point, lets you know exactly what it is.
There is no ambiguity about what this segment is.
And we roll with it.
All right, Muse, go first.
All right, so Spencer Rattler. Everyone heard so much about him coming out of high school, right? He was the big guy, big-time commit, goes to Oklahoma, was projected the #1 draft pick, kind of fell flat on his face. Not kind of, he fell flat on his face. He went to South Carolina, struggled early, but down the stretch last year, specifically Tennessee, the game against Clemson, he was really, really good. Looked like the guy we heard so much about. I'm curious to see if he's actually turned the corner this year. Big test, week 1 against North Carolina on Saturday. If he has, look for South Carolina to go over their win total for the 3rd straight year with Shane Beamer.
Paulie.
So I think we're all going to be watching this, and if you're not watching, you're probably most likely going to hear about it. But it's Coach Prime's debut in Colorado.
I'm so jacked.
He's bringing back the relevance in the headlines, but now it's time to see if he can bring relevance back to the field. They're facing off against 17th ranked TCU. Obviously, plenty of roster turnover because he brought his players with him. He's bringing the expectations. Many believe it's a rebuild year, but I'm interested to see if it'll feel like one.
I loaded up over 3.5. That team's winning 4 games.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were going for there. Okay, yeah. I was about to say, I thought the line was like 3 touchdowns against TCU, but I got you. Win total.
Florida tonight. Is Florida really going to be that bad? It's Florida Gators. Their projected win total is 5.5. Struggling to get to bowl eligibility? Like, could they really be that bad? I understand all the things that we've talked about. They're a road underdog against a Utah team playing its backup quarterback. I mean, the odds makers think so. A lot of people think so. I just have to see it to believe it, that Florida's really going to be that bad, because if they are, that would be lows we haven't really seen since the 2011 Florida team under Will Muschamp. So is Florida really that bad? Tonight against a backup quarterback in Salt Lake, be a really good indicator.
I'm also looking at something tonight, and it's Nebraska in Matt Rule's debut. Jumps right into the deep end. Big Ten matchup with Minnesota, PJ Flex squad. We touched on it a little earlier in the show, Matt. Nebraska, it's a massive rebuild for Matt Rule. We know how great of a coach he is. I think as the season goes along, they will beat somebody they're not supposed to beat this year. How do they look tonight, though, in that first test? How much have they bought in? How much did they fight early in Matt Rule's tenure?
Paulie?
I'm watching the Alabama quarterback situation. Nick Saban not naming his starting quarterback yet.
Hey, what are we doing, Nick? Come on, man.
Gamesmanship.
Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, Tyler Buckner.
Sheesh.
Many believe it's Milroe, but it's obvious that none of them are Bryce Young. So it's interesting. We'll see if Bama actually does take a step back this year.
I keep Middle Tennessee on their toes. They're no joke.
Middle Tennessee? Nick, what are you doing? I mean, announce your damn quarterback. Whatever. This is one that you're probably not expecting, but Iowa's offense. Iowa was 6th in the country in scoring defense last year. They were 123rd in scoring offense. Iowa averaged 17 points a game. They were awful. They got Cade McNamara transferred in from Michigan. He's not going to play this weekend, by the way. But I want to, and so I understand it's a little bit of an asterisk. But the reason Iowa's interesting is because Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State are all in the Big Ten East. The Big Ten West is the crappy side of the division that seems like it's a different team every year. If it's Wisconsin or Northwestern, like that may be Iowa. And Iowa's defense is good enough that they could play spoiler in the playoff race if they get to the Big Ten championship game with an elite defense and a good enough offense. So is the offense actually respectable? We'll start to find out this weekend. So Iowa's offense, I'm actually, believe it or not, there's no way I'm watching that game, by the way. But I am going to be interested in how it turns out. Yeah.
Didn't they redo his Ferentz's contract where he has to average a certain amount of points?
Yeah, so Curt Ferentz's son, who's the OC there, yes. They.
Oh, it's his son. Okay.
It's his son, yes.
Okay. This was kind of similar to the Spencer Rattler thing, but I'm interested in Joe Milton. So obviously replacing Hendon Hooker at Tennessee, that offense was incredible last year for the Volunteers. They still have plenty of production on the outside, even losing Jalen Hyatt to the draft. It is Virginia, who's not great, but it is still Power 5. When we saw Joe Milton fill in for Hooker after the injury against South Carolina, he was pretty good, especially in that Orange Bowl against Clemson. Can he carry that over again? It's Virginia, but it's still a Power 5 test right out the chute. He's got the weapons around him. This is a guy who's lost a job twice, though, at Michigan and at Tennessee to Hendon Hooker. Is now finally the time.
Paulie?
A little bit of a homer pick.
Your third and final one?
A little bit.
Please tell me what you're looking for, Paulie.
Southeastern Lions.
Lion up?
They're facing Mississippi State, but I'm kind of watching the Mississippi State side of this. Obviously, it's the debut of Zach Arnett, post Mike Leach era. I'm interested to see that offense and what Will Rogers can do.
No, you're not. You just want to say Southeastern on the show, and that's okay. Just own it, man. Proud Lion alum over there. You wear your Southeastern polo from time to time. Your coach's shirt over there. That's fine. You can want to watch your school, your squad.
Well, yeah, I'm going to watch it.
It's all good.
But there's another
the Zach Arnett thing
side.
is interesting, by the way. Like, I know Mississippi State people get pissy because everybody picks them last in the West every year. I picked them last in the West this year because I think Zach Arnett is going to be a terrible hire. You're trying to overcome the sudden and tragic death of your coach, who, by the way, I don't know that any coach in our lifetime has done more with less than Mike Leach at Texas Tech, Washington State, and Mississippi State. Like, Mississippi State's been respectable because Dan Mullen was a really good coach and Mike Leach was a really good coach. Now you go to a first-time head coach in Zach Arnett, who has the personality of this pen, and I don't think is going to be a good hire. So that's why I picked Mississippi State last in the West. I don't know what they're going to be offensively. They don't have an identity. They got a first-time head coach. It's a terrible situation. This is not the point of the segment for me to interject, but I don't care. I'll do whatever I want.
They've got great throwback uniforms this year, though.
Southeastern with the upset.
Southeastern with there is Paulie picking the upset. Wouldn't that be something?
Ooh, that'd be a tough start.
My last one is I want to see Hugh Freeze. They're playing UMass. UMass had a nice win last week. I mean, UMass went on the road and won at New Mexico. Yes.
First road win in 24 tries for UMass.
It's incredible. They had won 4 games in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That is a You know the old bottom 10 thing that ESPN, like UMass is a perpetual resident in the bottom 10. They're awful. And they went on the road and scored a road win as a touchdown underdog at New Mexico State. And that's Jerry Kill, who used to be the Minnesota coach. He's a really good coach. So hat tip to the Minutemen, but this ain't about them. I just want to, Hugh Freeze is a great coach. And when he went to Ole Miss, when he went to Liberty, his first year, there was immediate success, immediate turnaround. I think Hugh Freeze gets them to bowl eligibility. I think he gets them to 7 wins. It wouldn't surprise me if they get to 8. I just think Hugh Freeze is a great coach, and I'm curious how different it looks at Auburn. People forget how atrocious that offense is. That Auburn offense had looked the past couple of years like LSU's offense had in the Miles era, where they just couldn't complete a forward pass. That's going to change with Hugh Freeze. So how's that going to look this weekend? That's my third and final. All right, that's what to watch. When we're back here on Monday, we'll recap everything that we talked about here and tell you what we learned from what we watched. We're brought to you by Traction Sports, TractionSports.com. There's a really cool video. I'm going to shout this young man out. There's a really cool video up on Traction social media of a young boy playing baseball and at the pitching lab. He's 8-year-old Andrew Ordogene at, I hope I'm saying it right, Ordogene. And it's a video of him in the pitching lab there at Traction. So in the main building at Traction, upstairs, they built out a pitching lab with the pitching rubber there. They have the radar gun on it, all the mechanics and everything with pitching coaches. So my point is, no matter if it's 8-year-old Andrew or, Alex Lang when he's here in the offseason, they're both working at the same place, same facility, same trainers. And you're like, man, that sounds expensive. I'm telling you, it is affordable. Memberships come with unlimited small group sports-specific training. Learn more. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. Traction, where champions are made. All right, it's after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here on this Thursday edition presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Mike Triplett here in 30 minutes from right now. Brian Kelly is set to meet with the media. So busy night, by the way. Brian Kelly meets the media after practice today. That's supposed to be around 5:30 Central. And then BK's got his radio show tonight. First radio show, which, of course, you can hear on our sister station, Eagle 98.1 if you're in Baton Rouge, or members of or affiliates of the LSU Sports Radio Network all over the state and all over the region. So Brian Kelly, a lot of media opportunities tonight, so we'll have plenty to sink our teeth into tomorrow on a Football Friday edition of AFR. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. Muse will do Tigers in the pros, and then a busy hour 3 straight ahead. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
Man, when you look up and you see that it's 80 degrees, it's just a slight hint of fall. Slight hint of fall. I'm going to wake up in the morning and to get out the house before the sun's up to go work out. A little bit of crispness in the air. Crispness, not Christmas. I ain't about pumpkin spice or peppermint lattes yet and all that stuff. But it is time to start thinking about fall. And Clegg's has already turned the page because, man, tomorrow is September, y'all. Tomorrow is September. It's time. You got to go get those Johnny Naylor seeds to get your fall vegetable garden in the ground, get those seeds planted, those fall bedding plants. They got buckbusters and deer corn for all you deer hunters. Time to start thinking about putting those plots out. They got you covered. They got great wooden door hangers and wall decor and garden decor. They got it all for you at Clegg's Nursery. Any of the 4 locations. Buy local, shop local for more than 60 years. Tell them Matt sent you in. It's Clegg's Nursery.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infinity Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Wrapping up hour number 2, Musso has Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
All right, we'll start by catching you up on how Alex Bregman's day finished yesterday. We gave you an update mid-show, but he had another couple at bats before we got off the air. I should say after we got off the air. 2 for 5, all in total for Bregman yesterday. Runs scored and an RBI as the Astros 7-4 over the just hapless Boston Red Sox.
Bregman was at. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
I just searched him on Twitter, and the first thing that popped up was him working a drive-through at Cane's. That must have been after the World Series or something.
Probably.
Someone probably just pulled back that old video. Anyway, all right, go.
That would happen. DJ LeMahieu last night. Been a minute, I feel like, since we've had DJ in Tigers in the Pros. Hasn't been an everyday stay in that lineup this year. 1 for 4 last night, though. Solo home run for DJ, number 13 on the season. Came in the second inning. Run scored and an RBI. Also drew a walk later on in that ball game. Okay, enough of that there. We'll go to the minor leagues. To minor league baseball, we will start with Cade Doughty. Big night for Cade Doughty. 2 for 4, couple driven in, a double, his 18th double of the season. Also would score a run in the ball game, and his team got the 6-3 win as well. Andrew Stevenson, St. Paul Saints, 2 for 4 in the ball game last night. Both of those hits singles. Did drive in 2 runs. Walk. How about this? Stole a base last night. His 44th stolen base of the season. Still got the wheels, does Steve-O.
You say that. He was actually thrown out at home last night to end an inning. I just searched Andrew Stevenson. The first video that pops up is him getting pegged at the plate as you're talking about the speed.
Was after he stole his 44th base of the season. Those aren't rookie numbers, though, there, Scone. 44 steals. I mean, that's legit. That's legit.
That's good.
Well, here we go.
Okay. Where are we going? Yeah. The Ponies. Let's go.
The Binghamton Rumble Ponies home of one Paul Gervais. Got off to a little bit of a rough start in his new home, but man, he made up for it last night. Inning in a third, perfect from Paul Gervais. 4 punch-outs as well. Dropped the ERA. I did. Dropped the ERA from 13 to 6.75. For what it's worth.
Check this out.
What we got? We got Paul Gervais here?
Yeah, we got Paul Gervais.
Just blowing it past people with the slider.
Hang on.
Look at that.
Wait. Yeah, here it is.
Filthy slider here. Guy just didn't even have a chance. You might notice they're playing the Harrisburg Senators. That's Dylan Cruz's team, but Dylan Cruz had the night off last night.
He didn't want to face.
He didn't want to face Paul.
He didn't want to
face
the pony.
Nah.
That's what he didn't want.
Not at all.
He didn't want to ride that pony. His saddle wasn't waiting.
Nah.
Yeah. He didn't want to come and jump on it.
That's Tigers in the Pros.
That was a way, way, way too uncomfortable reference there.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
You did that to Dylan Cruz, of all people.
He'd have jumped on the saddle.
He would have.
Yeah. If they had said, hey, mount up. It's a pony, and the saddle's waiting.
It's just getting even more uncomfortable. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry?
I've heard of them.
They're pretty good.
Great place, as a matter of fact. It's where Baton Rouge and all of Louisiana's gone to get engaged for more than 30 years. They'll always give you the Lee Michaels experience. So, gents, when you propose, play Pony by Genuine. And make sure you've got a ring from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Hour 3 next.
AFR.
All right, y'all. Brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. Call 924-2020 to get that consultation. Do it right now. And you hear me talk about the Williamson Eye Center every single day. And I know if you're listening to me right now and you're wearing glasses or contacts and you are nearsighted, you have thought about LASIK. You have thought about LASIK. Because I am you. I was you. And anyone that wears glasses or contacts and deals with shoving contact lens in your eye and always being fearful of what if I get dust in my contact, or what if I open my eyes when I'm in the pool or at the beach, or what if I tear a contact lens and I'm blind and what, all that stuff. I lived it. I lived it for decades. And I put off LASIK and put it off and put it off for all the reasons that you're putting it off. And I'm telling you right now, call the Williamson Eye Center. It'll be the best thing you ever did. 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com.
I'm Chris Nakamoto, and here's what I'm working on for my stories on WBRZ Channel 2 tonight. Multiple complaints about a teacher who was terminated this week fell on deaf ears. Tonight, the WBRZ investigative unit learning complaints against that teacher crossing the line started 3 years ago, but those complaints didn't go anywhere. Ignored by the school system and the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office, not taking action. Hear from the mother who is demanding action and answers now about what happened. I'm Chris Nakamoto from WBRZ. Watch more tonight on WBRZ Channel 2.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
When is a taco more than just a taco when it's Government Taco? Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson will get a contract extension, and ESPN's Adam Schefter reports it's a 4-year deal worth at least $66 million, the biggest tight end contract in average value. Dolphins running back Jeff Wilson Jr. goes on IR today, injuries to his midsection and fingers. He'll be out at least 4 games. Chiefs defensive lineman Chris Jones continuing his holdout, but the team is hoping he'll be ready to play in the season opener next Thursday night against the Lions. ESPN's Booger McFarland.
The Kansas City Chiefs cannot win the Super Bowl without Chris Jones. I don't care how good Patrick Mahomes is. I understand the hold up a little bit in Kansas City because you got their other 2 best players in Mahomes and Kelsey that are basically kind of on team-friendly deals. Well, Chris Jones is saying, hey, I don't want a team-friendly deal.
Booger McFarland. Chris Getz is the new senior VP and GM of the White Sox. He takes over for Ken Williams and Rick Hahn, who were fired last week. 2-time American World Cup champ Julie Ertz announces her retirement from international and club soccer.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tomplin. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. Mike Triplett in 15 minutes from right now. The big news out of Saints camp today. Kendra Miller, hamstring injury. We don't know the severity yet. The Saints have added a couple of running backs. We'll delve into all of that with Mike Triplett in less than 15 minutes from right now. There's a little bit of I shouldn't laugh at this because it's not necessary. Well, all right, it's a little funny. There's been an update in the Les Miles, Sharon Lewis lawsuit thing. And I don't need to go into all the particulars of everything, and it's an uncomfortable part of LSU's past and all that stuff. But this is actually pretty. I think this is funny. The headline at WBRZ, for our news partners at WBRZ, the headline reads, "Lawsuit update. Judge's ruling means the hunt for Les Miles must continue."
That is an elite headline. I mean, that is just awesome.
Okay, so real quick. This is the lead. A ruling from a federal district court judge extends the legal game of hide and seek tied to a lawsuit against LSU by a former athletics department employee. Sharon Lewis, is suing the university and a number of individuals who were associated with the 2021 accusations of discrimination and all that stuff. Miles, it reads, remained a prospective witness, and therein lies the problem for Sharon Lewis and her attorneys. They can't find him. I mean, all right. I'm reading. Efforts to serve Miles with a subpoena this summer failed, and the plaintiffs turned to the court for help. They asked a judge to order that Miles' attorney could accept the subpoena on his client's behalf. Well, the judge said that's something she cannot do.
That makes sense, though. They're not subpoenaing her.
So the hunt for Les Miles continues. I mean, there is something beautifully poetic about this, because in his career, I don't know that anybody was more deftly equipped at escaping sticky situations on the field than Les Miles. Auburn 2007. There's no time left, and you decide to throw a ball into the end zone, and I'll be damned they catch it. Like, this is a thing the man, made his living on, doing just that on the field. Escaping really uncomfortable situations that probably could have been just cut and dried. Yet here we are, and they literally cannot find Les Miles. By the way, Les and Kathy are living in Naples. I understand that they built a beautiful home there, and he is retired from coaching and going to go live there, I would assume, his remaining years there. And, the family's doing well. The boys are out coaching, and Macy's playing softball at UCF, and Smacker's living in Dallas and doing media, and a family that we all saw grow up for more than a decade here is apparently doing really well. But they just can't. Can't find Les.
You think they've checked in Naples? Or
I don't know.
I mean, if you know where he is, how do they not know where he is?
I mean, bro, the fact that they can't just go to Les's house and, Mr. Miles, you've been served. That's it. They just can't find him. I mean,
there is no other college football coach that headline would ever be written about. There's just not.
I would presume he's in a gated community. I don't know that for a fact, but as I understand it, I've seen they got pictures on Instagram and everything, beautiful home. They're on some channel of water behind them in Naples. It's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. So I would assume. And look, Les made a lot of money, and good for him. Worked very hard for a lot of years, made a lot of money, and could afford to live in a big, beautiful home. Maybe I would assume it's a gated community. But at some point, don't you go out to dinner? Don't you go to the grocery store? I mean, don't you go get coffee or something? Don't you go work out and go for a jog? Something? I mean, nobody's just staked out the Miles household to serve Leslie's papers?
It doesn't sound like it. I mean,
cray.
Does this need to be our Citizens Bank poll of the day? Where is Les Miles? How can we make that make that work? We have to explain the situation. That's the thing.
You figure that out. I'm gonna move on. That headline was just too perfect. The hunt for Les Miles continues.
The writing in the story was great too.
Who wrote that story at BRZ? Hold on, I gotta find out who wrote this. Jonathan Shelley wrote it. You know what, let's give Jonathan Shelley a big round of applause. That a boy. Well done. The judge's ruling means the hunt for Les Miles must get... he's a fugitive, man. It's I was the one-armed man. What are we doing here? They can't find Les Miles. All right, anyway. All right, Mike Triplett in 7 minutes. It's after further review. We're brought to you by Relief Windows. Windows door siding, Relief Windows, and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, Beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding, and now interior window shutters as well. The highest quality, custom made for your home to fit your specifications. They'll make your home more energy efficient. Also, they are fire retardant as well, so they'll make your home safer. It's Relief Windows. Yes, they are windows, doors, siding, now interior shutters, but they are also experience, quality, and service. They've got the experience, the highest quality materials and products, and the level of customer service Relief Windows provides is unparalleled. So, if you need windows, doors, siding, or shutters, the only company to call is Relief Windows. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. The College Football Playoff Committee met on Wednesday. It was the, not the committee, forgive me. It was the 10 commissioners, the FBS commissioners, and Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick. They met Wednesday to discuss the future of the College Football Playoff, and the reason this is relevant is next year, the College Football Playoff is going to a 12-team format, as we all know. Well, the way that it's currently structured is that the top 6 conference champions, the highest rated, the top 6 ranked conference champions get a bid, and then the top 6 next get the 6 at-large spots. So essentially that guarantees the Power 5 get a bid, and one group of 5 gets a bid, and then the next 6 highest-ranked non-champions get in. Well, it seems as though the Pac-12 is going to dissolve. And regardless of what happens with the Pac-12, if it dissolves or if it merges with the Mountain West, whatever it does, you can't guarantee that league a bid. So it no longer makes sense to guarantee the highest-ranked, the 6 highest-ranked conference champions bid. So there's 2 options that they're discussing, as I understand it. And this is a report from Heather Dinich at ESPN. The 2 options are, number 1, you either award automatic bids to the top 5 highest-ranked conference champions. So it would be like the Power 4 plus the highest-ranked group of 5 school. And then the next 7 get at-large. So basically you take the spot that was going to be guaranteed for a Pac-12 champion and just make it an at-large. That. Or the other thing they discussed, which this is my preference, by the way. The group discussed the option of 12 at-large teams. What a novel idea. Now listen. I understand that if you're going to have conferences, there has to be some reward for winning your league. I get it. But we live in an era right now where winning your league doesn't guarantee you squat. In 2016, Penn State won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State. They didn't get in the playoff. Ohio State did. What is that? We live in a college football world where a bunch of self-important doofuses sit in a hotel ballroom and make their own determination of who gets in. So what does it matter if you win your league? Give me the 12 best teams. Give me the 12 best teams. Period. That's what I hope happens. Now, I have a microscopic percentage of hope that may actually happen because you have conference commissioners at that table with a vote that are going to vote in their league's best interest. As an SEC homer, of course I just want to see the 12 best teams get in there. I don't need to reserve a spot for a group of 5 team just because they had a nice season playing a bunch of other group of 5 teams. I got no interest in that. Give me the 12 best teams. How many Power 5 teams could go play a G5 schedule and have that same result? Much higher number than the number of G5 schools that could go play a Power 5 schedule and run the gamut or run the table. It's an old argument. I know I'm just yelling. I get it. Not likely to happen. But the fact that it was discussed is encouraging, and I'm at least going to plant my flag. Y'all going to know where I stand on it. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. Mike Triplett is next.
AFR.
Brought to you by Pluckers. All right, y'all. College football tonight. Let's go. Florida, Utah. You got Minnesota against Nebraska. You got SEC football tonight with Missouri against North Dakota. Who really cares? But my point is, you got college football starting at the top of the hour, and the last game of the night is Arizona State against Southern Utah, which kicks at 9 o'clock Central, which means that'll end after midnight. And if you want a place to watch all of those games, Pluckers will have them all on. How do you binge on all of them at your house? You don't. You go to Pluckers. Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet right in front of the Mall of Louisiana. I got even better, but wait, there's more. Better news. Every Thursday, all you can eat boneless buffalo bites, so pay one low price. Eat as many boneless buffalo bites as you want all night long. Tossed, breaded, fried in your favorite wing sauce. It's at Pluckers. You don't like our wings? We'll give you the bird.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Mike! Yeah?
Saints coverage with some Mad Libs mixed in.
Why don't you just go by Mike?
It's time to talk black and gold with Mike Triplett of New Orleans Football, presented by Benny's Car Wash, family owned and operated since 1951.
All right, let's do it. Mike Triplett joins us, New Orleans Football. We talk a little black and gold every Thursday here in Hour 3. Mike, how are you, man?
Doing great. We got a real season on our hands.
I am so excited, man. Golly. College football tonight. 1 week from tonight, the kickoff of the NFL slate. It's here, man. It's a good time. Hey, saw the news about Kendre Miller's hamstring injury. What can you tell us?
Well, we've gotten into the closed mouth portion of severity of injuries.
Yes,
so
the season is
Dennis
here.
Allen did not give the. He's been incredibly detailed this year about minor, not concerned, could be major, could be more significant, 2 to 3 weeks, all that kind of stuff. Today it was you'll find out next week on the injury report. So we're in game mode, game on. We did see him in the locker room walking through, so he's not he's not so limited that he couldn't be upright and walking through the locker room. But other than that, I don't know for sure. But obviously, look, it's fair to be concerned about Kendre Miller's health in general. He missed most of the offseason with the knee injury. He missed a few days of practice, but bounced back quickly. Now he's got another minor thing. Hopefully, just a series of minor issues and not a pattern to come. But yeah, you're always concerned. You want everyone at full health.
The decision to bring in Tony Jones Jr. and Jordan Mims, thoughts there, and what this may look like week one, like how the running back room may pan out?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I'm a little surprised Ellis Merriweather didn't stick on the practice squad. I thought he would. He had such a promising summer. He ended up being replaced by those guys on the practice squad today. But I was not surprised that Ellis Merriweather was not their choice as the third running back in week one. Kirk Merritt is on the active roster, and he's a little different style. He can catch some passes, maybe do some of the Kamara plays if they use him at all. They also kept him to be a possible option as a backup kick returner. And someone like Tony Jones Jr. obviously has a lot more NFL experience, things like pass protection, as opposed to an undrafted rookie. So I think all of these decisions are related to, who's backing up, who's getting snaps while Alvin Kamara is gone in the first 3 weeks. Obviously, if everyone was healthy and we're into week 4, it's Kamara, Williams, and Kendre Miller.
Mike Triplett with us, NewOrleans.football. Our convos every Thursday, brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. Went to Benny's today, as a matter of fact. Let's talk a little bit, just a little bit of a look back with the roster decisions, the first 53 and what's happened subsequently. Was anything like a real big surprise to you, Mike, considering everyone does the exercise where you put out your projected 53 and all that? What was maybe the biggest surprise for you?
Yeah, all three of us got the punter and kicker wrong, but we knew those were dead close. And we erred on the side of not taking the risk with the undrafted rookies, and the Saints were willing to take the risk, which I guess actually I would say lets you know that they don't consider it that big of a risk, because this is a team that is not worried about developing. They're all in to win this year. So if the young guys unseated the more proven veterans, I think that speaks volumes. But then obviously, along those lines, the two that probably surprised us most were Bradley Roby and Jalen Smith. Now, Jalen Smith is already back. And in retrospect, that one's not that surprising because he does not play special teams. So he might not have been active on game days. But having him around in case anything ever happens with Demario Davis or Pete Werner makes a lot of sense. I think he would be the next guy to play like all those defensive snaps. But as a backup linebacker who doesn't play special teams, okay, I guess I see why he's on the practice squad. Bradley Roby was the bigger surprise. Not really from the standpoint of we knew they were going to have tough cuts to make at defensive back. We were all taking turns like, is there room for Lonnie Johnson Jr., a veteran safety? Is there room for Isaac Yadam, a veteran quarterback? Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to let go? I'm just surprised Roby was the one they let go, because it seems like he was entrenched as the nickel corner, while that was something that Alontae Taylor was slowly learning and developing. But they're going to go all in with Alontae Taylor. He's going to get some on-the-job training, and obviously as a skill set, doesn't surprise me that they see that as his future in this league, or a position he can play really well. But a little surprising they're going without the safety net right away in week one.
Mike, where might they still be hunting for help as they look at other free agent positions and what and people that might be available? What are they maybe still looking for?
Yeah, I would think, considering what's available out there, you're not going to really upgrade any starting positions. Wide receiver is still one that I like their big three of Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, and Rashid Shaheed. But if any one of those guys was missing because of injury, then all of a sudden the drop down to Traquan Smith, A.T. Perry, Shaq Davis feels like a drop down. Keith Kirkwood on the roster. So, we had always heard about, could Hunter Renfrow be available via trade? Is that something they would still consider? But for the most part, I think you're just talking about moving depth pieces around at this point.
At Mike Triplett on Twitter, NewOrleans.football is where you'll find his work, of course, along with Brooke and Nick Underhill. I'm not sure if you heard the other day, Mike. We had Brooke on the show, and I totally blanked on Nick's name. It was like when your mom forgets the kids' names or calls the kid the name of the dog.
Oh,
I had that moment.
I do that all the time. I
had that moment on air. Anyway, but of course, Nick does an awesome job. But hey, you mentioned Traquan. What's going on there?
Well, it's a groin injury, and I don't think the timetable is shocking right now. We've seen him and Rashid Shaheed actually got hurt, both with groin injuries on the same day, and we've seen Rashid Shaheed return to practice quicker, a week earlier and counting until we see Traquan Smith back on the practice field. But 2 clues, well, we have 3 clues. We have, 1, we saw him on the sideline watching the game, standing up, watching from the sideline the entire game the other night. 2, he made the 53-man roster, and 3, they didn't put him on injured reserve. So they expect him back, if not by week 1, soon after. Otherwise, they would have put him on IR. And, they still could do that technically anytime before the first game, and he would still only have to miss 4 weeks. But I think all signs point to him being ready soon. But they did keep 6 receivers on the roster, including a veteran in Keith Kirkwood. So I don't know that Traquan will be ready for week 1 necessarily.
Mike, when you kind of look at camp, the preseason, and now the 53 in total, where is this team today relative to what you thought they might have been whenever they opened up camp at the end of July?
Well, I'm trying to remember what I thought of them in late July, but I know certainly in like June or, after free agency and the draft had been done, there were 2 positions I was still worried about the depth at, and that was tight end and defensive line. And those are the 2 groups I feel better about than any group over the last month, 2 months. Tight end, obviously, they added Foster Moreau, then they added Jimmy Graham. I still don't know how big Jimmy Graham's role will be, but if he's your 4th tight end, that's all of a sudden the depth we wondered about at that position, we feel great about. Jawan Johnson looks like he's ready to be a breakout standout. Foster Moreau is absolutely a legitimate number 2 with pro experience. Taysom Hill is everything that Taysom Hill is, and Jimmy Graham obviously can, 2 plays a game, he can bring an exciting flash. So I like the depth at that position now. And the same thing with the defensive line. I mean, it's still Cam Jordan and a bunch of guys who might not be starters everywhere, but I now feel like there's 8 guys who are right at that same level. Like I like Carl Granderson more than I did at the beginning of July. I absolutely like Malcolm Roach more than I did at the beginning of July. I think Colin Saunders and Nathan Shepard look like exactly what we hoped they'd look like. I think Peyton Turner's had a terrific summer. You got to feel like he's going to finally be a bona fide contributor. Brian Brzee has looked like a rookie who's ready to step in and play right away. Tano Passanio has had a good offseason. Isaiah Foskey's the only one in that bunch who looks like he's coming along slowly, but that doesn't worry me because I feel a lot better about the depth.
Is Sean Payton and the Saints, are they just going to continue playing like this game of cat and mouse where they keep just signing each other's players?
I'm okay with that. I mean, there's a knowledge there,
Sure.
It makes perfect sense why the Saints would want Tony Jones Jr., why Sean Payton would want Lucas Kroll. I think it's proof of, we were driving ourselves crazy trying to handicap the Will Lutz-Blake Groupie battle and saying we think Will Lutz looks good, but we think Groupie looks good too. Are we just looking at 2 of the 25 best kickers in the NFL, and that's why this decision is so hard? And sure enough, the Saints go with Groupie, and Sean Payton is, please give me Will Lutz. He's better than anything we got. So, it all makes sense when you have that knowledge. But, yeah, I guess that's something we're going to have to get used to for a while, huh?
I'm not wrong here. Will Lutz stunk last year. And we haven't seen him, and he missed the year before. We haven't seen Will Lutz be good in 3 years.
No, you're right. And look, I had phrased it Nick disagreed a little and thought, that this was largely about how good group he looked. And I was like, a lot of this might be about how Will Lutz looked. Did they think Will Lutz got back to what he was? And I think all signs indicated that he looked like he was back on track. Last year was a bad year for him, but he said he had one of the best off seasons he's ever had. His numbers, Darren Rizzi confirmed, he made more than 90% of every kick they charted this summer. So I think it was a matter of two kickers who played really good, and I would say they couldn't go wrong with that decision. But unfortunately, it's going to be the most heavily scrutinized decision on the team because we can all keep score so easily. They might keep the wrong defensive end, and people just might not know to the naked eye. We will know if they've made the wrong decision at kicker.
Yeah. Mike, last thing for you. I'd love a thought on Jake Haener and where you think he is right now.
Oh, he's going to be actively redshirting, basically.
Sure.
I mean, he's not ready to be the number 2 quarterback. It's hard to say that I think he looked really good all summer long because I know he didn't look that good in 2 preseason games, and that's what matters most. But I think the signs are there that that's a guy they're going to want to keep working with. I mean, I put him in the Chase Daniel mold of that's the kind of career I could see him have. We've seen Tyler Palko and Ryan Griffin come through here, and they spent a lot of years as backups in the NFL. We saw Garrett Grayson come in here and flame out, and he did not make it as an NFL backup. And I see Jake Haener as more of a Chase Daniel than a Garrett Grayson, absolutely. I don't think he'll ever be competing for the starting job here, but I think he has a good chance to carve out that kind of young, competing for the backup job as soon as next year role.
He is Mike Triplett on Twitter, at Mike Triplett. Of course, you find him at neworleans.football. Our conversations with Mike all throughout the year. Every Thursday in hour number 3, presented by Benny's Car Wash. We appreciate it, Mike. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Be well. Benny'sCarWash.com is the website, Benny'sCarWash.com. And I am embarrassed to say, but I just learned this today because I went to Benny's, got my car washed, then I went into the Be Quick, the one right there on Perkins, and I got an icy. I love ices. And the lady working there at the counter asked me if I had the app with my rewards point. I was like, well, I have the car wash membership. She's like, it's all the same thing. So you can get rewards points even when you go into Be Quick and buy an icy. So download the Benny's app as well. The Benny's Car Wash, the membership, it's so worth it. I mean, I told you this last year, and I had never done it before until Mike started doing the interview with us weekly, and Benny sponsored it. So I went and bought the Benny's Car Wash, and it's the Express Wash, so it's $16.99 a month. So $17, you can run through Benny's whenever you want. I do it at least once a week now, sometimes twice a week, but or even more than that. Drew loves to go through the car wash. So a lot of times I'll just get Drew in the car seat, we go through the car wash. But you also get 30 cents off per gallon of gas at the Be Quick when you have a Benny's membership as well. So you're saving, like if you're looking to save money on gas, you fill up weekly or whatever it is, 30 cents a gallon, that adds up. So Benny's Car Wash, highly recommend you go get a Benny's Car Wash Club membership. Benny'sCarWash.com or download the app, as I learned, Benny'sCarWash.com. Okay, it's After Further Review. Glad you're with us here. We appreciate Mike Triplett. Man, been a really good show. If you missed anything, AFR On Demand. You can catch us on YouTube. Of course, the AFR LSU or AFR Saints channels, or just search on your favorite podcast app, After Further Review. Subscribe up. You get the whole show via podcast. Opened up kind of handicapping the LSU offensive line, the Florida State offensive line against the LSU defensive line. Gave you our thoughts on the Kendre Miller injury and what the Saints did to replace him. Curt Weiler, who covers Florida State, was here last hour. You just heard Mike Triplett. Ton to get to. The search for Les Miles continues. That's all there. That's unbelievable. AFR On Demand presented by Brett Golf. If you missed it, there was a headline at WBRZ that they're trying to find Les Miles. They're trying to serve him a subpoena in the Sharon Lewis case, and they cannot find him to serve in the papers. It's just it's the funniest damn thing I've heard all day. All right, it's After Further Review. We'll knock out a break. Otter Locks in less than 15 minutes. Got a full night of college football. You know the Otter's going to have picks for us. We'll get to it coming up here shortly. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Get to Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. At Rouse's, they love that they're local. You know, they opened up as a city grocery 100 years ago. For about 60 years now, they've been in the supermarket business. I love the fact that the store they just opened in Houma, by the way, on Martin Luther King in Houma, that store is the same location of the original City Grocery 100 years ago. So over the years, they've had like 4 different facilities or iterations in that same location, which is so cool. Anyway, it's a family-owned and operated company. Got to spend some time last week with Donnie Rouse and the whole crew over at Rouse's in New Orleans, and boy, they just love to be local. With every decision they make, they start with, can we source this locally? From their strawberries to their sugar cane to their produce to their seafood to everything. It's Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, this feels like home.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ram 1500 trucks, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Earlier this week, the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year Award watch list was released. I had forgotten this was a thing. And this goes to the best true freshman in the country, Sean Alexander, of course, the former Alabama running back, who was a terrific player in his day. Hold on, Paulie. There was one LSU freshman on the list. Muse, did you look at this list? Scout's honor.
I did not.
Okay.
I did not look at the list.
Paulie, did you look at the list?
I did just now, yeah.
Okay.
Before this, no, I didn't.
Then don't talk. All right, Muse.
Shouldn't be too hard for Paul.
Earlier,
Sorry, Paul.
it's fair. Earlier, was it this week or last week that we talked about the impact freshmen? I think it was last week on the show.
For LSU, when you gave your 5, yes, that was last week.
Yeah, and as I recall, I had Lance Hurd, I had Mac Markway, I had Ashton Stamps, I had Shelton Sampson, and I had it was Whit Weeks.
Yes,
those were my 5. None of those 5 are on the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year Awards watch list. There is, however, don't peek.
I'm peeking.
There is one LSU freshman on that list. You want to guess who it is?
Yeah, I have a guess. I have 2 guesses actually. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with Kamorian Pimpton as the first guess, though.
It is not Kamorian Pimpton.
Okay.
Give yourself a buzzer.
Oh yeah.
This is AFR. We do sound effects.
That's true. So you're gonna let me go again?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. The other person who really came to mind, just because of the recency bias, I guess, really is Caleb Jackson.
It is not Caleb Jackson. So my 5, your 2, we're still not at the guy that made the list.
Is it Javian Toviano?
It is Javian Toviano. It's a little surprising because in spring football, the conversations that I had with, let's say, people familiar with the program, they love Javian Toviano. And if you remember, they were playing him. Maybe it's worth, I don't know if you can find something. I don't know. This is needle in a haystack, but maybe you can find Brian Kelly spring talking about Javian Toviano. He was here in the spring, and they really liked him in the spring. And if you recall, they were playing him all over that secondary. He was playing nickel. He was playing safety. He was playing outside boundary corner. He was playing everywhere. And they had the luxury in spring of moving him everywhere because it was like, all right, we like this guy. Let's see where he best fits in our defense and what maybe is home for him. But the really strange thing is, even with through this fall camp, as we've talked about all of the, I'll say struggles, but I'm using that term loosely. I think it's pretty clear, and we've all talked about it. The secondary started off slowly in fall camp, and I think the whole defense just kept improving as fall camp has gone along. And by the time they got to the scrimmage in Tiger Stadium, we all saw the first team defense got back-to-back stops against the ones. They forced a 3-and-out. Nice pass breakup by Zy Alexander. On the second series, they had a forced fumble. Zy Alexander stripped Mason Taylor. Anyway, so the defense got better. But even with the relative struggles, I'll just use that term loosely, we never saw Javian Toviano really running out there in the 2 deep. I mean, when they were rotating safeties, we saw Major Burns, Greg Brooks, Andre Sam, Sage Ryan. I mean, those were the 4 that they were rotating at safety. And when we were looking at corners, initially it was Zy Alexander, Deuce Chestnut. And then we saw them rotate in with Ashton Stamps and LaTerrence Welch. And then they moved Sage Ryan to boundary corner. So oddly, this was who set this up for me.
This is Kelly, and the question he was asked was, will Toviano move around the defense?
So this was in spring?
This was in spring in March.
Okay.
Yeah, he's playing some nickel for us right now and some safety. So he's a guy that has that flexibility. We'll play him a little bit at corner here in the last week, going into the last week. But right now, he's the guy that we have singled out as playing a little bit of nickel and safety.
I mean, and now especially, now look, that was before they brought in Andre Sam, who's now in his 7th year of college football, who can play nickel, who can play safety. So you have a much more veteran guy there. But it's noteworthy, right? I mean, because we forget about it, but if you were to go back to spring, they were high on Toviano. And it's almost like he's just been forgotten in this whole conversation. Then he pops up there on the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year award watch list with, I mean, some of the names on here, Tackett Curtis is on there. Dante Moore is on there. I mean, some of the guys that were like 5-star, some of the highest rated prospects in the country. Damon Wilson at Georgia. So it's interesting that of all of the freshmen that could have been on that list, I mean, Lance Hurd isn't on that list. I mean, Shelton Sampson isn't on that list. Jaylen Brown isn't on that list. I mean, guys who, Deshaun Womack, 5-star, the highest rated player in this class for you, isn't on that list. The one that made it was Javen Toviano, and he's kind of been a forgotten guy so far in this fall camp. Maybe one to circle and put an asterisk just to see as they search for answers in that secondary. Could Toviano be a guy that at some point factors into it? Look, it certainly looks like Ashton Stamps is the one that has elevated his game and has taken reps and solidified himself on the 2 deep at cornerback. But maybe Toviano is one we can keep an eye on. All right. College football starts tonight, y'all. We're brought to you by DraftKings, official sports betting partner here on AFR. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I mean, now's the time, y'all. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers, use the promo code Baton Rouge, one word, Baton Rouge. Make a $5 bet on college football. Anything. You want to bet on Florida, Utah tonight? Money line, point spread, do it. Win total, prop bet, doesn't matter. Or game total, over, under, prop bet, Heisman odds, national champion odds, playoff odds, whatever. Make any college football bet, $5. Make any $5 college football bet. They'll instantly give you $200 in bonus bets at the DraftKings Sportsbook. They got same-game parlays. You just see at the top, you slide the tab to opt in. The more legs you add, the more money that you win. It's there at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Y'all, college football is here. You got almost a dozen games tonight here on Thursday. You got Friday Night Football. You got a full slate for Saturday. Of course, the Tigers and the Noles on Sunday. You want to bet on all of it and just binge and have even more fun? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. New customers make a $5 bet on college football. Instantly, they'll give you $200 in bonus bets. That's only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms. Licensed partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537. All right, y'all. It is after further review. Otters coming up. So speaking of DraftKings, speaking of making those bets, we'll find out what we're betting on tonight. Again, you have 11 college football games. Some real nice action tonight as well. Florida and Utah is the headliner on ESPN at 7 o'clock Central. You've also got on Fox at 7 o'clock the Minnesota-Nebraska game, the debut of the Matt Rule era. So a lot of ball to watch tonight. I'll be locked in. I'm sure all of you will as well. We'll find out what we're betting on tonight with the Otter when we come back to wrap it up next on AFR.
AFR.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com.
Down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Thursday edition of AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Want to look and feel like your younger self? They can help at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey, and Lafayette, and online at theantiagingclinics.com. All right. College football 9 minutes away. Let's find out what we're betting on tonight. Time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
So we turn to the one and only, the incomparable and incomprehensible, the Yacht Father himself, Jimmy Yacht. Otter, how are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Getting ready for some football. The first one out the chute, Matt. I mean, it's a big number, but the MAC, I mean, Kent State is...
We got some action on the bounce house tonight?
Yes. We're going with Central Florida tonight, minus 35.5.
Woo!
Gus Malzahn and John Reese Plumlee is still at it. They will up-tempo. They'll have 35 at half.
Let's go. Laying 35 in a hook out the chute. That's 8 minutes away. Get your popcorn ready, y'all.
Yeah. Kent State is got like 2 returning starters. The coach left. He's Coach Cron's offensive coordinator at Colorado. And, I mean, I bet under 2.5 for the win total this year. I mean, they are decimated. So
good.
Kent State, it's a fade against Kent State, Central Florida. It opened up 30. I'm not the only one on it. It's all the way up to 35. We're still laying it.
Okay. All right. What else we got?
Staying away from NC State UConn. I will mention that UConn is definitely a sharp play here.
Okay.
It's come down from about 18 to 14.5.
Okay.
I know a big jump, but that's, I'm not sure about that. And I'm perplexed in Florida and Utah. I love Utah. I always bet Utah at home. It's either Utah at home or a pass. But, I mean, and there are at least 8 Gators that are, questionable for this game or out, for the season for this game. So it's a lot of guys down this trip. But, man, boy, it is a public side tonight is Utah. I probably will end up on Utah, but it's not my favorite place. But my biggest one is, though, Nebraska, Minnesota, under 43. Okay. So both teams huddle. Both teams take their time, and there's nobody that builds that clock better than P.J. Fleck with their big offensive line when they get a lead late in the game. So I think some growing pains. The Matt Rule didn't turn it around immediately at a Temple or Baylor. I mean, he won a combined 3 games in the first year at those 2 spots. So I think that they'll be good, but not so much so early. So Minnesota, small play to Minnesota as well, but the under is what I like a lot at 43. Both teams, I like to run the ball.
All right, so UCF laying the 35 and a hook. Maybe a small play on Utah, laying the 5.5, and Nebraska, Minnesota under 43. I didn't get to hear the podcast today, Jimmy. I did hear a good bit of you and Charlie, though. Was there any consensus plays or anything you noticed with your sharp bettors for tonight's slate that might be something worth mentioning?
No,
okay.
No, not tonight, but we do have some going tomorrow night. We sure do.
You want to give us a little, because you're not going to be with us tomorrow. You're not here on Friday.
That we will be on the air. Special time, Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Texas Morris.
1 minute remaining.
So 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yes, we do have some consensus plays. I got the Nationals too. Autoplay. Autoplay. They're coming back 20.
You're playing the Nationals tonight?
Yes, sir.
All right, what the hell? I'm riding with you. Let's do it. Let's go Nats. Let's go Nats. All right, Otter be at the Rufino's tomorrow for lunch. Lock of the Week Friday. Y'all check him out. We appreciate it, Otter. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, man. Have a great night. Again, to recap, Otter. Central Florida laying the 35 and a hook. Utah, small play on the Utes, laying the 5.5. And he likes the under in Nebraska, Minnesota. That's at 43, so that's his favorite play of the night. All right, y'all, that'll do it for us here. Muse Pauly, I appreciate you. Everybody have a great night. Enjoy the college football. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole show. Go home. Go watch college football. We'll see you tomorrow.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, let me remind you about Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Michelli.com with now 31 offices across 11 different states. Man, you want to talk about a company that is a pillar of stability, 76 years, still locally owned and operated. Their New Orleans office right there in Harahan, and now with more than 31 offices across 11 different states, still locally owned and operated right here in Louisiana, still loving to do business with a handshake and a smile. That's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. It's all about making you more profitable, more efficient. You need some of your precision measurement devices calibrated. They can do that. You need weighing systems. They got you covered. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Go to Michelli.com, Michelli. That's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. Online at Michelli.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's government taco, voted best tacos